Sadly, this is a forsaken generation. Hear this well, we're not going away. Eyes are opening to the truth. We grow stronger in number as a united force every day. Babies are dying, parents left crying, told that SIDS or coincidence disorder are to blame, parents forced to live with the pain and shame. The once bright smiling faces full of wonder turned vacant stares, families shattered while they also endured the public glares. You're wiping out future generations for your own selfish gain as we form this revolution for liberation and change. We will keep speaking louder and louder. We will not be silenced until there's a shift in power. So stand up, speak out, be brave, be the voice of the voiceless. Too many forsaken lay in their graves. Welcome to Forsaken Generation.
All right, I am on new headphones today, and I don't think they are working very well. So y'all give me just 1 second so I can plug in my other ones and get those on. Okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me. My buddy Pam Floner is in the dashboard listening in today. If you can hear me, let me know, because sometimes it is tricky with headphones. I actually tried a new pair, but I don't think they're working. I could kind of hear the intro in them, but it was cutting out really bad, so I'm not sure if it was the new equipment or if it is just something to do with a signal or something. So anyway, you are listening to Forsaken Generation, and I am on Freedomizer Radio. And today is a very special day here on my show because in about an hour I will be joined by Bigtree. And if you are a warrior in the truth movement, you most likely know who Bigtree is. I have not met anybody in the movement who doesn't know who he is. I have met several people outside who have never heard of him. And of course, it just makes it fun to explain. And a woman yesterday, I was actually at the gas station, and a woman told me I had beautiful hair. And so I decided to use that as an in to talk to her and give her a sticky note with all my show information on it and invite her to listen in today. So if you are listening, thank you and welcome. And thank you for the sweet compliment. And it is definitely going to be a good show today. In just a few minutes, I actually have a friend who's going to call in who has a son that's on the spectrum. And we were going to chat for a few. Most people know the way my show works. We have a lot of new listeners today due to our guests that will be joining us later on. And so the first hour of my show is usually kind of a catch-up. And, we kind of just give you a bunch of goodies and have people call in and things of that nature. Now, if anybody would like to call in when Bigtree is on with me, feel free to do so. You can call into my show at 319-527-6208 and press 1 to get on the air. And always appreciate fellow warriors. I have had several amazing people calling us in the past. And the number one question I get asked is, do trolls call in? And of course they do. But we screen a lot of callers before we let them on the air because it's just better that way. I'm very excited for today's show, though. We have a lot of questions from a lot of our friends and listeners on Facebook. If you are new to listening to the show today and you would like to be able to keep up with the show, you can look on Facebook and you can find it at Forsaken Generation Radio Show. You can punch that into Facebook or into YouTube and find my shows. And you can also punch in Lynette Marie Barron and be able to find me. And for now, that is about it. That's all I need to tell you. That is the ways you can reach out to me if you'd like to be a guest on the show. Just shoot me a message, and I will get back with you. But it's been a very, very interesting week, and just been a lot of fun as always. Just so much going on. Yes, life is hard with vaccine and your kids, but I do feel like we all have to stay positive and so I always try to do so, and as much as I can anyway. Sometimes I get a little frustrated, and I'm only human, but for the most part, I do try to stay as positive as possible, and always just hope and pray that, I get pulled through the rest of the way by, God himself, because this is not an easy battle we're in, and we're all fighting really hard to try to just get to the winning point before we hit that 1 and 2 with autism. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is how much time it feels like we're just out of time. So that's one of the things, I guess, that's hard for me, is just knowing, we are literally on the teeter-totter, and it's very scary stuff. If you can get out and go to a lot of these things, please do. Go to the events. Go to the stuff the opposition is having. A lot of them have vaccine summits. I don't know if you have ever heard of these, but look them up. It is where a lot of times they bring in the younger generations of doctors and lawyers and pharma people, and they do a lot of their brainwashing of, pretty much how amazing these things are, and they don't let you know how horrible they are, what's in them, or what side effects could be. Thank you, Pam, for letting me know you can hear me. That's awesome. Yeah, I think the problem the first go-round was just my other headphones, maybe. They're brand new. Maybe they got a short or something. Who knows? I haven't tried them out, so I have to go back to my old ones for now. Dog chewed on them a little bit again. Oh, goodness. But anyway, so yeah, we've got a lot going on, and the fact that my buddy Dell's coming on, I've actually got to meet Dell twice now, and I don't know, I get lucky somehow. The first time I met Dell was at the Next Steps to Health Freedom in Atlanta, and that was a really good time, and I was actually a vendor there, and Dell was the speaker, and then afterwards there was a VIP dinner, and it just happened to take me long enough to clean up all my stuff and get it into my car that I was one of the last people in line for food, and Dell happened to be one of the last people in line as well, so I ended up at their table. So that was kind of cool, and nice to sit by some friends of mine, Tia and everybody, but then so I got to meet him and Jimmy and all them that day. And at first I didn't know who Jimmy was, and I'm like, is that your bodyguard? And Jimmy just started laughing, but my bad, Jimmy. But you don't know these things until you ask. So anyway, so yeah, got to meet him there, and then once again I got to see him at the ACIP meeting just this past couple weeks ago in Atlanta at the CDC, and that was a lot of I won't say fun, because it was very trying on my system to stay awake after driving all night to get there, and then how boring the presentations were, and then, or monotone, I should say. It wasn't really boring, it was just that it was so monotone. And then having to drive all the way back home, it was definitely rough, but worth going. And I hope to see a lot more people there in June. It is definitely worth going. You can make a public comment. So, that is something to think about and keep an eye out for, and just punch in every now and then and see if they have anything updated on there. It seems to be usually that they run them on the 21st and the 22nd of February, June, and October. So I don't know if that's every year, but it seemed like it when I look back at the dates. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I try to tell everybody that, because this is where decisions are made, and it's a very important room to be in to make them think and spread your seeds. So anyway, yeah, but I was lucky enough to meet Dell, in the past, and then see him again at the ACIP, and I actually was lucky enough to get to have lunch with him and his team that day, and got to meet Catherine and Patrick and Jeffrey for the first time, and they are just as nice as they seem, and just as genuine, and Catherine is just a sweetheart. I don't, after the crazy life I had, I was never much of a hugger or a toucher or people being near me, and she just gives the best hugs. I had to get a couple of them, and just a sweetheart. So I was really, really happy to get to meet her and, meet the guy behind, like Patrick. My memories of Patrick were him on the bus, with his, unicorn or his crazy hats on and stuff like that. It was uplifting. It was something that made you smile when you were having a rough day. So it was, cool to finally meet him. And Jeffrey is a sweetheart and just as smart as he can be. So, it was just a cool experience. It's a good reason for everybody to unite with their other fellow warriors too, because you never know, what may come out of uniting and talking and rubbing elbows with a lot of your friends and connecting arms. So anyway, I am lucky enough that Dell agreed to be on the show today. That is something pretty awesome to me. I am going to see here. I think I have my buddy calling in right here. Let me see. Who do I have on the line with me?
Hey, it's Amanda.
Hey, girl. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is going to be a great show. I'm super excited.
Yes, ma'am. Me too. I'm very excited. So yeah, I wanted you to come in and talk to me for a little bit because, you do something pretty amazing and you have a reason why. So, I just figured it'd be nice for you to be able to let everybody know you're out there and what you guys do and stuff like that. Because we do have a lot of people listening in today, and you are a sweetheart, and you help me make other people smile with what you do too. So. Means a lot to me.
You.
So I would love to hear about your son Adrian and how all this got going.
Yeah. So Adrian is almost 10 years old. He is vaccine injured. He received his DTaP and his HIB at a year old, and immediately started having what you would call silent seizures. Beforehand, Adrian. Very neurotypical behavior. He was talking early, walking early, eating a variety of different foods. He immediately got sick. He stopped eating. He stopped walking, and he stopped talking. He lost, mama, dada, baba, hi, bye. I mean, just got this terrible, almost like a flu. And by the time that this flu was gone within a 2-week period, so was everything that Adrian had learned up to that point. So it's just it's a battle. Adrian is still severe, but we've definitely had some gains. We're doing different therapies and things with him. He also has sensory processing disorder. On top of his severe autism, he's still nonverbal. So he was scared of the dark for a long period of time, and we wanted to give him like a nightlight, but the idea of giving him something battery operated made his father extremely nervous, and me, of course. So Dad got to creating something wonderful. We started making these sensory stones. And we made them just for Adrian, and we had put a picture of them online, and, people just wanted them, and I think that was really wonderful. We had given some to some of Adrian's therapists for them to try with children, and, the kids really gravitated towards them. So, so we started this little nifty shop on Etsy. It's called Absolutely Adrian, obviously named after the boy that inspires us the most. And they're pretty cool. You have them for your family.
Yes,
and we
love them.
Yeah,
we do. We love them. Our children love them.
Yeah, and they glow for long periods of time. So Adrian always has
them
when he goes to bed. So now he's able to.
They're different colors too. Some of them are different colors.
They come in blue, green. You can get them with. We do like different things, like, if a child with autism prefers like a car or a train or dinosaurs, we started doing just the puzzle pieces, obviously for awareness. But we had a lot of kids on the spectrum prefer certain things, we have a lot of requests for dinosaurs or robots, little boys are obsessed with dinosaurs. So we do a lot of like dinosaurs and stuff. So, But yeah, so we started doing that, and then we've made other like sensory toys and stuff. Dad is super creative. He's come up with like different box lights. My son has a sensory room, and it goes with like the music. Like it's really cool. So we've come up with quite a few different things. So yeah, so that's what we do. And then other just like nifty things, like we make like jewelry pieces and etc. But the sensory stones is definitely where our heart is at. Yeah, and we love definitely giving them to you. And you go to so many different things, and the fact that you're able to give them out to other children that could benefit is wonderful. Like we love that. So
yeah, we love being able to do that, and they're so amazing. I mean, my little girls will put them in the window on their bedroom on the side facing the sun in the morning, and then love sleeping with them. And it's just so cool. I mean, they're unique. They're something that I haven't seen anything like them, and they're just very comforting to a child. So even if you have to travel, we charged ours on the flashlight when we were in the car, so that she still had that, and it was something that she recognized from home that gives them a sense of comfort. And it wasn't so dark in the car traveling at night for her, and I think it was a little bit more soothing. And I mean, it's just really neat. And I mean, your wands, my teenage daughter, she's just turned 18, and she's still so obsessed with Harry Potter, and she was just like, these are so cool. And so yeah, I mean, y'all really do have some cool stuff. Even my business card holder came from you guys' shop. So you guys check out Absolutely Adrienne on Etsy, and your son and your family is just beautiful, and what you're doing is awesome. I love talking to my fellow warriors out there who are, doing something with a cause, and you're like we are. We didn't start out with our detox or any of our stuff planning to share anything. At that point, our shop had been off for a year. When Lily got vaccine injured, we weren't doing anything. We weren't selling anything anymore. We were in our own little bubble. And,
exactly.
I made my detox I made it for my kids and to comfort my kids and to help pull that out of them and make them feel better. And then all of a sudden it just blew up. Everybody wanted to know about it, and it was crazy. And so, people kept saying, will you please make this available? And when you see a need, always raised, you feel that need. And if you can, and also raise that if you can't gripe about something unless you do something about it. So, we all have these little things in our niches and our places in this movement, and I do believe you guys have found yours, and I'm just so glad to be able to share that with everybody today. And you guys definitely check them out. We have been so happy to be able to share those with other people, and I got to tell you, it definitely lights people up. The first round we got from you that we gave away, we actually kept, I had them in my purse, and anytime we would meet somebody, we thought it would brighten their day, we would, here, got this, and tell them it's just a neat thing, and greatly appreciated that you're out there doing this.
Awesome.
And
that's really wonderful to hear.
Well, everybody has their thing they can be doing. I think sometimes people are afraid, what could I possibly be doing, or what, maybe I'm not good enough to be doing something for this. And everybody has something that they can offer, and whatever their niche may be. And I'm a big mouth, so it just works out. I get to do a radio show. I like to talk. So
yeah.
Well, thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm serious. Anytime, and anything you need, you guys, I'm always around. Hit me up anytime, day or night. I know what it's like to be stuck up all night long with a child who refuses to sleep, and you're literally falling asleep sitting there with your head bobbing. Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you ever need to talk, friend, I'm awake.
I got you.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness.
That's when you're up putting up listings. You might as well. You're going to be awake for a while. So.
Yeah, that's right. You'll see me on there. I'm usually putting stuff on my YouTube and everywhere else, converting stuff, fixing things. It's like, you figure I might as well. And I'm reading my Bible. That's something a lot of people probably look at me and wouldn't think I spend lots of time doing. But there's so much highlighted in my Bible. There's probably more highlighted than there is not highlighted. Different times in your life, though, different things just really jump out at you and stand out to you, and it's crazy how that works. But I've had a scripture in mind I'm going to share when Dale comes on later that literally popped in my head that I've thought of every time I see him or hear him talk. So, it's like I feel like I need to share it. So, but it's just weird how if you pray about these kind of things and you really do, put your faith in God, the fear goes away. And it becomes easier and easier to speak out and to get louder. And I know you were a little nervous to come on the show today, so I really appreciate it because it does take guts. So I know that. So I do appreciate it. One of the other Freedomizer hosts one day told me, I love talking about the topic of vaccines, but I could never be as ballsy as you and have on some of the people you have on. And I was like, why not? You know what I mean? I'm going to live one time. If I'm going to be in here and I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to do it right. Like, that's how I feel about it, I love doing this. And I love talking to people because you never know. Like, you would think it'd be weird for me and Brian Hooker to talk to each other, or whatever. Right. It would seem like that would be an odd interview. But it was so flowing and such a good talk. It's weird how things go, but they all happen for a reason. And I think that different people pull different things out of you, and you learn so much every different person you talk to. So,
you definitely,
I always love it.
You have the balls for it. That's for sure. I mean, it's definitely your calling.
Well, thank you, friend. Thank you. I think when you grow up crazy, and then with everything our kids have went through, you get to that point where it's just like, you know what, whatever. I'm just going to do it. So,
just do it.
And
that's all you can do.
That's right. That's right. And y'all stay tuned in after my show is over. Coming up next will be Proof Negative, the owner of the station show. And he has been amazing in supporting me in what we do here. And, he offered me my show about a year and a half ago and just, hit the ground running. So greatly
awesome.
Appreciated. I love you, Proof Negative. And, it's definitely amazing. So just keep on keeping on. Let's see here. What time do we got here? I am going to jump to a quick commercial break because I want to make sure I get enough of them in today. Got to help Freedomizer pay the bills. And I will be right back.
Did you know that every time you swipe your debit card, those behind-the-scene transaction fees make the big banks even richer? In 2016 alone, these fees added up to $60 billion. Yes, that's billion with a B. Well, what if there was a way to have the convenience of a debit card, but reroute those fees from the banksters to organizations actually doing good in the world? Organizations that protect the environment or feed hungry children? What if your swipes could literally change the world? Well, Groundswell SPC has found a way to do just that. We've designed a Visa debit card program that shares transaction fees with your favorite cause. Groundswell partners with nonprofit organizations that promote the card to their supporters. Their supporters then use the card to power the mission of the nonprofit. It's a win-win-win for everyone, except the big banks, of course. Groundswell is about to launch its first cards into market, and we're inviting you to be part of this movement as an investor in the company. Go to WeFunder.com/groundswellcard to learn more. Set up a free WeFunder account and invest in Groundswell today and get your money on mission.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to talk to you about our newest sponsor, Misty'sGardens.com. Now, this is a contraption where you can grow food in your apartment, in a small patio, or if you're like me and you absolutely suck at gardening, this makes life a lot easier. It is a vertical tower garden. We can grow over 20 things at once in a small, compacted area. Good health starts with good habits, like eating wholesome foods. And with tower gardens, you can easily grow your own fresh, nutrient-rich food virtually anywhere, year-round, without soil. So, Misty'sGardens.com, have a look at it, check it out, buy it, plant, and like it. Misty'sGardens.com.
Imagine standing barefoot on cushy grass while you use a professional-grade knife to deftly chop fresh vegetables on your organic bamboo cutting board. The team at MyZestyNest.com wants to help your family enjoy home cooking like this more often. They do this by offering fun and functional tools that make your time in the kitchen more efficient and enjoyable. MyZestyNest.com offers the finest and most interesting kitchen goods and accessories, all backed by their world-class customer service team. Check out their ever-expanding inventory today. Visit MyZestyNest.com. That's zesty like spicy, nest like home. MyZestyNest.com.
All right, we are back. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. Sorry, I just want to do a quick commercial break and catch up on any questions or anything that was happening. I am so excited for today's show. I think Amanda dropped out during commercial break. Amanda, thank you so much for calling in. You guys, please check out Absolutely Adrian on Etsy. As she said, really, really cool glow stones. And I find that not just for your child with autism, but just every child. I mean, they're just amazing, and helps keep them in bed, and helps keep them from. Lily has a problem with being afraid of the dark, and she didn't used to be. I don't know where this fear came from, but it is nice to be able to give them something that will help them not be so scared and actually want to stay in bed and get some rest. So those are pretty neat. And like I said, they have jewelry. Most of the stuff they have actually glows, so I always, I don't know, I'm a sucker for weird things. I like things that glow. So they've got glow jewelry, the wands, the business card holders, all kinds of stuff. I absolutely love my business card holder. It's like half the resiny, glowy stuff and half wood. That's, I don't know, it's just neat. And the way they machined it, it's just real pretty. So anyway, check them out. Super awesome shop, and the owners are amazing. And she makes it possible for me to, give those away to kids when we come across somebody who may, benefit from that and it lift their day. So that's pretty cool. Anybody who helps me lift somebody else's day, that makes me feel really good. I'm always trying to find ways to, and maybe a lot of our warriors don't do this. Maybe it annoys them that I do. I don't know. I just don't ever really care what people think about me. But I do really try to, inspire everybody in some way, shape, or form and make them feel better and try to maybe make it not seem so grim. I don't believe it really is. I think we are doing a lot better than we believe we are. Just from the things I've seen of recent, just from the people I've talked to. It just seems like we are definitely getting somewhere finally, and a lot more people seem to be actually caring and speaking out. The more people who speak out, the more, of course, who are going to understand. And I think the more the message is catered to fit the need of who you're talking to, because I think sometimes it's hard for people. A lot of people just don't really know how to approach people or whatever, or how to take it when you approach them. So anyways, oh my goodness, I am just like sitting here trying to look through all this stuff and keep up here. Somebody's asking me where to go, so I'm sorry if my mind like jumps around, you guys, but when you're running a live show, sometimes people will, I don't have a team, it's just me. So I have to answer questions and shoot links and all that kind of stuff as things go along. So, sorry for that, but you just got to bear with me. All righty. I do have an unspoken prayer request for a warrior friend of ours, a actually prominent warrior friend of ours who has done a lot for this movement, reached out to me this week and is having a lot of stuff going on. You know who you are, and you know I love you. And so you don't have to know the name or what they're going through. You just let God know that you're praying for someone out there that, he knows who they are. So just something I wanted to put out there, because I think the more people lifting somebody's need up, and the more likely it is to have better outcomes. So just the way I see things, I do believe in the power of prayer, and raised Southern Baptist, so what can I say? Some of it stuck. Now, I did get out of there and go get crazy and get all these tattoos all over me, because that's just me. It was therapy, but I say, I know my body's a temple. I just like to decorate the walls, so there's nothing wrong with that. just trying to keep it interesting. All right, so we've got about half an hour now until Del Bigtree joins me. Sorry, this first part seems a little long sometimes. I'm hoping some of my other warrior friends will call in.
Call in our live number at 319-527-6208. That's 319-527-6208. Press 1 to participate on the air.
There's the number for you guys, 319-527-6208, and you can press 1, and that will get you on the air with me. I know I had several people ask me if they could call into the show and wanted to talk, so that is definitely an option. I will play that number a couple more times throughout the time the show is on. I know a lot of people have questions for Del. Try to make sure that you keep your questions something that Del will actually be able to answer. I don't like to frustrate my guests and put on something that they're not going to be, or that, wouldn't, because that just seems kind of silly. So sometimes I get some crazy questions. So just make sure that it's something that is going to be, on topic or whatever. Dun, dun, dun. Throw that out there. Sorry, you guys. Takes forever. Got to upload everything. Switch over. It's a lot of pressure, too. When you do what I do, see, I'm sitting in a room by myself. And then I know that you've got all these people out there in listening land somewhere, but see, all I can do is see and hear myself. So it is definitely, it's a little bit odd. Thank you, Pam, for listening in every week. And my buddy Lou Drago, got to give her a shout-out. She's not able to listen in. She'll be listening in afterwards, but she is a amazing friend who listens every week and shares the shows. And I know a lot of you know Lou, so we've got a lot of people who shared this week's show. I cannot believe how many people were kind enough to go and share the show. It's hard sometimes because I'm being censored at every avenue. On Facebook, I have been, every time I'll share my show, used to be able to get about 500 shares. Now you get about 30 to 50 before they shut you down, sometimes even less. So it's just ridiculous. I'm sure a lot of you know what I'm talking about. YouTube, same way. I just got my first strike on YouTube. So, and that was actually for posting a story where I interviewed the mother of a special needs child. So, YouTube, get your act together. Just a crazy world we live in where everything we try to do, they will definitely try to shut you down. They will send trolls in too to cause problems, but I welcome the trolls because I always hope I can educate them and at least maybe they'll eventually start thinking, who knows. I mean, I got to believe in me that somewhere at least most human beings don't feel the way, I would say these big pharma execs must feel. Most human beings have a kind spirit and just want what's best for themselves, their families, and each other. At least from my experience. And I've met a lot of people just growing up in the group home. We were always sponsored by different churches and groups and organizations. So I always, met tons of people growing up. And then, the way being in the movement, going to different events and whatnot, same thing. You always meet a lot of people. So from what I have noticed, for the most part, they're all decent people. We may not all stand on the same, in the same way, like I'm not exactly 100% in alignment with the Nation of Islam that was out there, with everything that they, religiously think or whatever. But at the same time, we still have common ground, and I will stand, with them. I mean, we really do have to just see this as a bigger picture. A lot of people don't see that, and a lot of people really are afraid to just get out there. And for the people who don't want to hear it, hopefully if you're out and about and it's someone that you see in person you may never see again, I pray you reach them. If it's somebody that that, maybe they didn't want to hear it, well, you may be able to go back and try again. You may be able to just let it be and find a different way to approach it, find a different tactic. I always find asking questions instead of saying, you don't know this about this, seems to work better. Asking them questions and finding out what they know and then saying, man, did you know about this? Did you know this? giving people information in a form of questions and different things like that seems to always be swallowed a little bit better than telling them what they don't know. I don't like being told what I don't know. I'd much rather, be approached in a different manner. So just some words from, I wouldn't say the wise because I have no idea if I am or not, but just some words from me. I'm wise enough, I suppose, because I know about a lot of things that probably a lot of the population don't. And I do believe that a lot of us were chosen for this purpose because God knew we would fight and we would help in this. It sucks having injured kids. Believe me, every time I see someone say I'd rather have the measles or I'd rather have autism than the measles, it causes something to come up in me that makes me want to sucker punch them in their throat. But you can't do that. So I have to resort back to being kind and trying to make them understand that they are very incorrect. Just for me personally, I'm not a violent person, but sometimes you just have those moments where you feel like, oh my gosh, some people. But hey, I got a little frustrated, like Jimmy Kimmel. I don't know if any of you paid attention to his stuff, but I think Dell even touched on this thing. I remember his whole vaccine thing forever ago with all the doctors that he had on, and they were saying, don't get your information from people like us on the internet, and that they were doctors. Well, you guys aren't taught anything about vaccines other than to give them by the schedule that you're shoved down your throat. The rest of us actually went out and did the research. So I would say probably listening to the moms is a lot better. And I got to say, you guys, Chris Kirkhoff, Adam Ringham, Gunn Anderson, you guys, amazing video the other day. If you haven't seen it, you can find it on my wall or on one of theirs. Really informative, and it is so amazing to see the men out there speaking out. It went viral. I was so happy to see that. These guys have a book out, and let me go pull that up real quick so I can tell you guys. I'm pretty sure I have the name on the top of my head, but I don't want to mess it up. And then you look up the wrong thing. So let me just be sure. I don't like getting it wrong here. Oh man, my little travel laptop is so tiny back here. Dun dun dun. In my little quiet radio room. Sorry, guys. It takes a minute. There we go. It is called So You're Going to Have a Baby. You can punch that in Amazon Prime and find it. I actually got a copy to donate to my local library as well. I have done that with many books and to many places. I think it is a good idea to do so. So just think about that when you're buying books. And it's like the thing about raising your kids without your doctors and all those other little books. A lot of those books go on sale for decently cheap prices, and it's a good time. I bought 5 of them. It's a good time to get them in bulk, and then you can take them and donate them to places where people can go and check them out. So just one more way to spread awareness, and for very little money. Something I like to do, and maybe it'll inspire other people to do the same. Oh, goodness, excuse me. I do not have my coffee this morning. I drank some way earlier, and I felt like if I drank another pot of it right now, it would probably be a bad idea. So I'm just sitting here thinking about coffee. Oh, my goodness. I drink way too much coffee. I don't know if any of you have that problem, and I got to say also, we're always looking for tools and more research and more things to get us through, to help us understand things, to help us get to a place of where we're ready for the next step. And I got to tell you, out of everything that I have tried to help myself understand what's going on and be a better person and get through this, just remember that the number one thing that you need to have in your hand is your Bible. I try not to be too preachy on my channel. I really don't. I say more on my Facebook page than I probably do on here. But I just want to say that to you guys. Seriously, just remember that. I can open my Bible and just go to any page and read something that applies to, something that's going to help my day or help the way I feel. I don't even understand it. You can just randomly open it, and there it is. It's kind of like magic. So yeah, I mean, just something I want to say. Everybody needs to remember to read their Bibles, and if you're not religious, then that's okay too. That's your choice. I got nothing against you. Hopefully, you've got nothing against me. I believe that it's a lot easier to stand for something and to have faith when you have a reason not to have fear. So, just my personal opinion on that. All right, so moving right along, I've been seeing so many things going on during the week in all of our different groups. I always pay attention to all this stuff, but I'm always trying to keep an eye out for things. And one of Dr. Paul Thomas actually shared this, and I shared it as well, but change in behavior. This is after taking Tamiflu. This is one of the things on the package insert that you don't get to see if your child is prescribed Tamiflu. This is part of the usually part of the thing. I don't think they give most people, but people, especially children who have the flu, can develop nervous system problems and abnormal behavior that can lead to death. During treatment with Tamiflu, tell your healthcare provider right away if you or your child have confusion, speech problems, shaky movements, seizures, or start hearing voices or seeing things that are not really there, in parentheses, hallucinations. So there's that little tidbit for you guys out there. Be sure. I've had people who literally hear me yelling about this stuff on my page tell me, well, I didn't get the flu shot, but I got the flu and now I'm on Tamiflu. And I'm like, no. Like, head and face, like you're just, come on, please, no. Please, everybody, just listen to me. You don't need that crap. Vitamin C, amazing. Elderberry, amazing. Chamomile, you've got all these different things out there that will help pull you through. And even if you have autoimmune problems, I hear so many people, we vaccinate for the population that can't defend themselves, the autoimmune part. My daughter has severe autoimmune neutropenia, and she had the flu this year, and she was just fine. Yes, it sucked. Yes, we went through about 4 to 5 days of HE double hockey sticks, but we pulled through. And so, you really have to think about what they tell you versus what is true. You've had somebody come out from the CDC and tell you that the flu shot is actually what is causing the flu deaths this year and all these problems. And if you think about it, there's been a lot of research come out that says taking flu shots subsequent years in a row can increase your risk for Alzheimer's and dementia and all kinds of other problems. Guillain-Barré syndrome. There's just so many different things out there that if you take the flu shot, you are at risk for, when if you just get the natural flu, you get over it in a couple of days, you recoup. Yes, you feel like crap during it, but guess what? Every freaking thing I saw about the flu on the package insert that I was finally able to get a hold of said, pretty much, here's the side effects you're probably going to feel from the vaccine. Every one of them sounded just like I had the flu. So, to me, that means I don't want to do that. What's the point? Here, give me something so I can feel like crap now instead of just risking getting it or not getting it. I'd rather take my chances. But what do I know, right? I'm just someone who spends all my time reading book after book after book on the topic. Not because I don't have anything better to do, because I am a mother of, actually, in case y'all don't know, 5 children. So not that I don't have anything better to do. I'm also an owner of a farm and a business and all that kind of stuff. The whole reason that we spend all our time doing this is because we have to. We have to know more than the doctors do. We have to be able to go in there and educate our doctors so that our doctors can educate themselves. It's kind of sad, but it really is the way it goes. We really do have to be the ones to educate our doctors. We have to be the ones to go in and tell them, you guys may have gotten this wrong, and a lot of people are suffering because of it. And here's the research. Here's the science to back up what I'm telling you. And that's probably going to take a fuzzy pear, but you know what? That's just the way it goes. Grow one. I don't know. I just wish everybody would just stop being afraid. That's so important. I mean, I didn't even know if anybody else was actually going to show up at the CDC or not when I went in there. And I went in there wearing my resist button and my autism mom shirt. I mean, we cannot be afraid any longer. We are out of time for fear. It is time to just be bold, and I guarantee you, once you start speaking out and standing up, you will see how much better you feel when you start getting these messages and these people telling you that you've changed their lives. I want to tell you guys a quick story that happened to me just yesterday, and these are the kind of things that I actually live for. These are the kind of things that I feel like these are the moments, that are amazing. A friend of my husband's that he actually works with showed up yesterday at our house to pick up some roosters. And as I said, we have a farm. And so, but they brought the new baby. Her daughter just had a baby. And I was so excited because this baby is a couple weeks old now and has had no vaccines. And he is a beautiful baby. And he is mixed. He is absolutely gorgeous, most precious little thing. And I remember telling my husband, first met Denise. She actually come over here to slaughter a pig with us because she was a Future Farmers of America kid and she wanted to get some hands-on experience butchering. And so she come over, and that was, what she come over for. But I was telling her that day all about the girls and what happened to them and things of that nature. And, she became a friend on Facebook and started following me ever since. And, it's just really inspiring to me to know that is yet again one more baby in this world who will not see vaccines. When I saw them yesterday, they told me that they would love the name of my GP that I take my girls to so that they would not have to deal with that. So keep speaking out, everybody. You don't know who's listening. This is just a sweet woman my husband happens to work with who became a friend and her daughter because of us having a farm and having similar interests. You just don't know. Don't be afraid to tell anybody that comes into your life, no matter what reason they come into it. That's definitely the best advice I could give any and everyone is to just please speak out. I don't want to run out of time. I don't want to get to that point where we're at 1 and 2 with autism and you've just got the caregiver and the person with autism left. Who wants to get there? Because I know I don't. I can't watch that happen. That's insanity. And we are getting there so fast. And I believe that these numbers are happening way faster than they're even reporting to us. Because if you look at what they're counting, they're only counting children 3 and up when they do their 1 in 36 count. And my daughter is 2 years old. She has severe autism. She doesn't count. I could tell since she was 6 months old she's had problems thanks to the shot I got while pregnant with her. There are many other children out there same way. And they're not counted right now. So I guarantee you it's probably more like 1 in 20, 1 in 25, I would say, at the least, who are being affected. I don't believe the 1 in 36. I just don't. It doesn't make, they need to be counting everyone with the diagnosis, not just people of certain age groups. It's just one more way they get around making it right. And think about that. They still got to do trickery in the way to make it less numbers, but, it's just crazy. That's so many already. Anybody else wrap your head around that? We went from 1 in 15 to 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 36, supposedly. They say that for every pediatrician out there, they've at least given 46 children autism for every pediatrician out there. So as horrible as it is to have that realization as a pediatrician, it's really still better to get on the right side of this thing and do the right thing. Apologize, stop poisoning kids, and not live in denial, not live in a place where you feel like, well, I could do the right thing, but I'll lose all this money, and I'll lose this, and I'll lose that. I could lose my license if I speak out. Like, at some point, the right thing has to matter more than the dumb stuff like money, and things don't matter at all. You can't take any of that with you. What about your good deeds that you leave behind? That's really what it's all about, is what you've done that's made a mark, that's helped change the world. And, I do believe in the saying where they say, the way to change the world is one small, kind act at a time. That really is true. Everybody thinks, well, I can't do it. I'm nobody. I'm not big enough. Nobody even knows who I am. Anybody can change things, and anybody could make a difference. So, don't get down on yourself and don't, believe anything different than that. We've got a lot of people who just really need to get a little bit braver. I see you on the cusp of saying something, and I just wish you'd shout. Oh, goodness, what time do we got here? We got about 10 more minutes until my buddy Dell will be on. I hope I haven't bored y'all too much today. I am going on very little sleep as usual. I don't know what it is with autism, but these kids just don't like to sleep, and I don't think they realize that us parents love sleep. So makes for a rough night. And any other day of the week, it doesn't matter. I just kind of work my day around that. But Mondays are, of course, set. So if you don't sleep, you just don't sleep. I am so excited. We've got about 4 minutes till I hit a commercial break. And then after the commercials, we should have Del Bigtree on the line with us. And I actually believe a couple of my hosts from Freedomizer may be calling in later on with some questions as well. I'm not sure, so we'll see how all this goes. As usual, I like to fly by the seat of my pants and just try to enjoy this. Everything is so serious in our movement, and everything is so hard. It's nice to be able to do activism and still make people laugh or keep it lighthearted enough to where, I don't know, I just feel like I cry enough. It is nice to be able to get on here and have a good old time with you guys. So, and by the way, y'all, it is freezing cold in Alabama. All of the orchard, the fruit trees started blossoming, plums, peaches, pears, everything all over, beautiful blossoms, apples. And then last night it got so cold. So I'm kind of worried because the first season that I lived here, it did that, and nothing really came fruit-wise. And then when it, so let's pray that this freezing does not mess that up. But I guess it's good for another maple tapping. If you don't have land or don't have property, I highly, highly suggest this lifestyle. Not only do you get out of city limits and get away from the man, but you can also grow your own food, know what's in it. We have our own, just about anything you could think of. If we want it, we like it, it's here. My father-in-law also lives on the property and helps out. I do believe in the it takes a village concept. Grandma helps out when she can. But it's just sad the way that, even for them, Pawpaw's in horrible health, and he just don't want to admit it because that means you're getting old. And poor Grandma, she's been going through sickness, and she's already got lupus. So this year's flu, and I don't know what else has wiped her out, but she's been sick probably 3 or 4 different times lately. So just lots of stuff going on, and everybody kind of feeling it this season. It's like the super bug has been released. I swear, even I go sick, and I don't ever get sick like flu sick. And it was pretty rough. I think Jazzy and Lily had the worst of it in our house, but it's still it was definitely pretty rough. You can combat that, like I said earlier, vitamin C, elderberry. You do not need a flu shot. I don't care if they're offering you 10% off your groceries or what the gimmick is for that day or the place that you happen to be in. It is not worth it. If you are that dire straight for 10% off your groceries, I'm sure there is somebody who will reimburse you for that 10%. If I have it, I will myself, because seriously, that's horrible. I don't want to know that anybody went and got a flu shot because they needed to save some money on groceries. So it's pretty crazy stuff that they do, gimmicks like that. Think about that mother in the not-so-bad areas and neighborhoods where they don't have a lot, and to them it just means more food in the cart. It's just sad. A lot of people are manipulated into taking them, and the churches are giving them. There's so many places that you can go and line up and get a flu shot, and not just flu shots anymore. I've noticed that a lot of these pharmacies are offering a lot more stuff that they did not used to offer, and they don't know anything about. So, ask these people to give you ingredients off the top of their head. If they don't know even a couple, what does that tell you? I mean, that should tell you something. I don't know. Let's just hope we keep reaching people and people actually start listening. We are going to go to a quick commercial break. Well, I say quick. It's going to be about 5 minutes. I'm going to give Dell time to call in and get in my green room. And when we come back, we will have Dell Bigtree live with me, so it'll be a lot more interesting, I promise you. As we know, Dell, I like those moments, as we say, Dell on fire, you know. Dell is just one of those people. His personality is a bit larger than life, but he is a very down-to-earth and sweet guy when you get to know him. So we will have him joining us in just a few minutes. So let me go ahead and jump to commercials and get that out of the way, and we will be right back.
How would you like to make your work more enjoyable, be more creative and relaxed, all while sitting at your desk? That's exactly what my Serenity rug has done for me. This revolutionary footrest, I can't even call it a footrest, because this thing encourages movement of your feet, which results in more blood flow. While traditional footrests advocate the motionless placement of your feet, I found that I'm unconsciously digging my feet into the long, soft grass strands of the Serenity rug. It delivers an incredibly relaxing sensation that closely resembles the feeling of an exotic foot massage. If you have ever had a foot massage that made you want to stay there for hours, you know what I'm talking about. If you have not heard about the Serenity Rug, check them out at serenityrug.com and join the exclusive Serenity Rug community and enjoy a feeling of comfort and relaxation that most will never experience. They've sold out before, so I suggest you do your feet a favor and grab one of these. Again, that's serenityrug.com.
You're an activist. You have a cause and an idea, but you also have lots of questions. You need help. After all, teams have coaches, corporations have consultants, and even politicians have campaign managers. But who do activists turn to? The Solutions Institute. We are a collection of professionals and activists from across the political spectrum. Our goal is to teach, motivate, and put all the necessary tools for activism in your hands without charge. Learn more or submit your project at solutions-institute.org.
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from libertystickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's libertystickers.com. But wait, there's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to libertystickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. libertystickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers.
Get ready for the epic new documentary adventure ride of your life. Shade the Motion Picture. A view into the globalist domain and embellish and Burma's film.
Nothing in this world works the way you think it does. Nothing. Governments do not operate the way you think they do. Banks do not do what you think they do. The police department is not here for what you think it is. Nothing in your world works the way you think it does.
We have to let them know that their world government has been identified, and they thought they'd implode the world economy to bring in a worldwide police state, but instead it's going to bring them down.
You have to stand up, speak out.
Shade the Motion Picture. Order your copy of the DVD today
at ShadeTheMotionPicture.com.
All right, we are back. You are listening to Forsaken Generation. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron. If you are just now tuning in, we are about to have Del Bigtree on with us. I do believe I actually see him in my green room, so let me click and see if I can get him in here. Can you hear me, Del?
Hi, Ken. Lynette, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Hello?
How are you?
Oh, very good, very good.
Awesome. Well, I am so excited to have you on.
Hello?
Okay, hopefully everybody's back and can hear me. Sorry, guys, I got kicked out for a minute. We have issues sometimes when we join and get callers in. Sometimes Blog Talk goes a little crazy. So I think we are back in here now. Okay, so anyway, what I was saying was when you meet Del in person, it's kind of hard to be able to talk much because it is usually something going on and there are usually a lot of people. So I am just super excited to get this amount of your time.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be great. You're right. Yeah, every time I see you, there's a lot of people around. But we've been at some pretty spectacular events together, so it's going to be fun to talk about.
Yes, sir.
What's going on.
Yes, sir. I definitely was floored with the experience of the ACIP meeting for sure. That was something I'd never been to one, and I plan to be at every single one from here on out because I feel like we need to be there if we can. And I did not get to speak this time. Many people don't know that I got in trouble a little bit because my husband hid a pocket knife kind of thing in my laptop case, and so I got a little trouble with security. And go me, right? Got to always stand out and go big or go home. And so,
right.
So yeah, I didn't get to make my comment, and I'm wondering if that might be why, because it definitely put my name down. So next time I plan on making sure there's no surprises and I get to open my big mouth. But
yeah.
But anyway,
it's
so yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's the first time
I know you had a lot.
Speak at all. I think that we want more and more people there. I mean, for people that are listening, I mean, this ACIP is is where they decide. It's a private group that decides whether a vaccine gets added to the childhood schedule or onto the adult schedule, or if they, so it's very, very important board. And what's amazing about it, I think you probably felt the same thing, is I always say it's like going into the coven. It's just this belief system that is so clearly biased that never asks any of the most logical questions, only asks questions that will support its own views. And they're smart people. The thing that's, I think, so fascinating about all of this is that shocks me is I don't think they're all bad people. I don't think that this vaccine program, I think there's maybe some people that are, maybe have bad intentions perhaps, but for the most part, you see this panel of scientists, you can tell they're all well-intentioned, meaning people. But what's astounding is that really, educated, smart people can literally, put on blinders for themselves so that they never see the truth they don't want to see. I think that's our ability as human beings to do that, I think, is what's been such a fascinating human study in this process I'm in, that we really do only research our own perspective. We only research to defend our own perspective. We don't challenge ourselves by nature, and that's become so clear to me in this whole process. And when you look at scientists and doctors, we're under the impression that that's exactly, that they've made it that high, or that they have those jobs, or this huge 8-year education, or whatever they went on, gave them a greater ability to ask deeper and harder questions. And the opposite is actually true. The better educated we are, the more we are in, the system and are celebrated for our minds, we tend to think less and less. I think it's shocking and delude ourselves more and more. It's really fascinating.
I definitely agree. I know I met a woman, had no idea who she was, and she was walking the sidewalk with me from the parking garage across the road over to find, I had no idea where I was even going. And, you saw me, here I am in my resist button and my autism mom shirt, and it's like, oh, Lord, I'm going in here by myself, like, here we go. And, this woman's walking with me, and I'm like, oh, I don't even know where I'm going. And here she is, full suit, beautiful woman, and she's like, oh, just follow me. Where are you going? I said, well, the ACIP meeting. And, every turn she'd say, oh, just keep following me. And we get in there, and she's one of the people on the panel. And the walk over, I'm sitting here telling her all about my daughters, what happened to them. And she's like, oh, man, I've never met anybody who actually has vaccine-injured kids, and I'm so sorry for what happened to your children. And in my head, I'm thinking, I have no idea who she is, or she's just going to work. And then when we sit down in there, at first I was on the back row until I saw all of you guys come in, and then I just kind of hopped up there with you guys. But I'm just sitting there back there, and she sits down in her chair, and I'm like, who in the world? Like, she's one of the people on the panel. It's like, so that kind of was neat that she listened. And afterwards, I was walking out right behind Jimmy, and she grabbed my arm, and she said, I hope you got what you needed out of today. And I said, well, thank you for walking me over. And she was just smiling at me. And, you never know, but hopefully planted enough seeds she'll go home and do some more reading.
Yes, and I think that's why we're inviting more and more people to go to the ACIP meetings. And, at the end of it, there's the final where everyone gets up to speak. And I remember there was a woman that got up and talked about her son who died of meningitis, and she's holding a picture and, crying, and very, very emotional testimony and important. I'm not going to go against. Her experience was real, and she is now in, her fight is to make sure everybody gets the, meningitis vaccines, and that's the solution for her. But then she says, I don't ever want to again have to counsel a parent whose child's, brain swelled and they're permanently injured, from meningitis, or died from meningitis. And I'm thinking, yes, but you never sit in a room with someone whose brain swelled or was permanently injured or killed by a vaccine. That happens too.
Right.
And it's not like I'm not here to reprimand her. She's standing in her truth. But we should be standing in ours. There should be more and more people showing up there to get on that microphone and tell their truth. There's two sides to this issue. And that's really all this is about to me, that, you have to make an informed decision knowing that there are definitely risks to the vaccines, and there are risks to diseases, absolutely. But you need to know what those risks are, not only be told about one side of this and then walk in thinking, oh, there's no danger to getting a vaccine, and only danger is if I decide to risk the illness. But when you look at how small the numbers of the people are that are injured by, and, these really mostly benign diseases that we vaccinate for, and huge, this growing number of, we're at 1 in 2 kids now has an autoimmune and neurological disorder. That's massive. And if that is, I believe there's a direct correlation between that and vaccines. We just don't know how much of that 54% of children is being caused by vaccines. But certainly it's looking more and more because of the rise. If you think about, I just sort of look at it in a math place. We know that when we had fewer vaccines in the 80s, we were at 12.8% autoimmune disease and neurological disorders. Now in 2017, where we've increased from 10 vaccines to roughly 72 vaccines, we've gone from 12% autoimmunity to 54% autoimmune disease. So that tells me that there's a large part of this must be being caused by vaccines. And, but all we can do as people who believe in science, like I do, is say, let's study this. Let's look into this. We have a crisis, and that's what I think is so disappointing. And all I can get through to people, no matter where you are in this discussion, Don't you want your scientists investigating a crisis? They are avoiding it. They are avoiding it with every ounce of their being. They are avoiding doing the obvious studies. The Institute of Medicine has pointed this out time and time again when they're asked to look at this, vaccines. Are they causing all of these injuries we're seeing them? I think the last time they looked, there's 155 common injuries, and of those, the IOM, Institute of Medicine, came back and said 134 of these injuries, there is no science at all available anywhere in the world. You're not looking at it, so we have no way of determining whether the vaccine's causing it, and neither do you. And they leave that and say, see, everybody, the vaccines are safe. No, the vaccines are totally untested, and you're refusing to do the test. That's really scary when we have the health crisis that we do with our children in this nation.
That's right. It's like the new adjuvant vaccine, the Hepliceb, I believe it was, when they were saying, well, what about giving it with other adjuvanted vaccines? And the one said, well, we just give it in a different limb. It's like, do y'all not realize that those limbs are connected to the same body and the same system? And, like, I'm not a doctor or anything here, but
Right. I mean, that was a really, I'm glad you brought that up. I thought that was one of the really interesting points, because there you had, someone on the panel asking a very appropriate question, saying, did we ever test this brand new adjuvant in conjunction with other adjuvanted vaccines at the same time? No. Is it going to be given with other adjuvanted vaccines at the same time? And then one of the head people says, whenever you make a vote from ACIP, the understanding is that it will be used alongside other adjuvanted vaccines. And then a different person says, is France, I think what they said is Japan or Europe, is anybody else giving multiple adjuvanted vaccines at the same time? And then someone chimed in, not to my knowledge. So meaning we are mixing chemical compounds that you would never do in a drug. Imagine, it's sort of, I always say it's sort of like if you use, ammonia and, different cleaning products, you can create basically cyanide in your bathroom if you don't know what you're doing, ammonia and bleach, I think it is. This is what we're doing with these chemicals and these vaccines. They all admit here on this panel today, we've never tested these two different, types of adjuvants being used in the same body at the same time. We just told you that no one else in the world would ever mix these two together, and there was a unanimous vote, yes, let's go ahead and approve it for multiple uses all at the same time. And you're like, whoa. People think science is going on here. They think you tested this when you approved it. They don't know you all just had a conversation, came to the conclusion that, no, we've never tested it. No one else in the world would even risk this, but we're going to go ahead and say, yeah, let's try it out. I mean, it's shocking. It's
like watching a bad game
that
show.
Our science is. It is. It's a science fiction movie. Yeah, it is the weirdest experience. I don't know. I wasn't prepared for it mentally, for sure. I didn't sleep the night before because I just was so nervous about what it was going to be like. And then, I'm not nervous about most things, but it was just like, this is going to be a very interesting day. And, and I mean, even a pharma guy came over to me during break. You guys all went out and Catherine said, save our seats. I was like, I got you. And this dude comes over, and he had been giving me the weirdest looks this whole time. And he was the one who got up in the beginning and talked about his, I don't know if he said mobile vaccine clinic or something, but he was like, and this guy over here, helped me out and whatever. And he pointed at one of the guys on the panel. But he came up to me, he's like, what's your story? What are you doing here? You obviously stand out. And, so I told him, and he just, looked crazy. He was shaking my hand and just kind of slowly let go and kind of just, oh, okay, and, just moved away from me, it's like, well, maybe I reached him, who knows? Well, but, I mean, I think that's what's fantastic. You definitely did, because what's reaching them is they know they're being watched. I mean, that's really what I think is important. They have been getting away with these meetings, just as I described, where they're not investigating any science. They'll ask the good questions, find out that they have no research or backing, and then just go forward and say, oh, hell with it, let's try it out. And nobody's ever been watching them do it. The only people playing on the same team, and they're all in on it. It's all pharma. It's a room full of pharmaceutical industry. But, that's great. He's going to tell friends. And more of us are going to show up every time. They're going to start recognizing, oh, my God, there are people from, and I hope media starts jumping in on this. Come and watch these people make decisions without any. They admit it almost on every time a new vaccine is being discussed. Like, well, we have very little research in this area. We were unable to have any test group here. Our hypothesis is that this would work because blah blah blah. And so, based on that assumption, are you ready to vote yes and approve? Unanimous yes across the board. You know what I mean? And you're just like, okay.
Right.
But I think the jig is up. Let them. I think it's huge that you're recognized. I think it's huge they know we're there. Because you watch, just that alone, they're going to have to start coming to the table with better science because we're all going to go out and say, hey, just so you know, we watched them make that choice without any science involved.
That's right. That's right. And I already got my shirt for next meeting. My shirt says the resistance is watching. They're going to know why I'm sitting there. I can't help it though. The night before the last one, my husband and my daughter came in. They're like, "What are you wearing tomorrow?" And I pulled out my shirt, and it says, "I am that tatted up autism mom they warned you about." And I put my little pin on it that says "Resist with the fist," and they're both looking at me, just shaking their heads like, "You would wear that right in the middle of it all." It's like, of course, why not stir it up? You know what I mean? I don't believe that they're worthy of my Sunday's best. I wore my mud boots. To me, they're not worthy of me dressing up for. I'm sorry, I dress up like that when I go to church and see God. They are not worth that reverence to me. So, I might be a bad person for feeling that way, but I do what I can. I got to tell you, I think of Bible verses sometimes. I'm a very might not look like it, but I am a very godly woman, and I know you're not supposed to have tattoos, but I just decorated the temple walls a little bit. I'm not, I had to do what I had to do. but anyway, I had a Bible.
Thou shalt not tattoo thyself. I
don't know that they had them back then, but I've gotten a lot of flack for it, so you never know. But this stood out and always makes me think of you. And so I just want to read it to you real quick. But it's Luke 21:13 through 19, and it says, "And it shall turn you for a testimony. Settle it therefore in your hearts, not to meditate before what ye shall answer. For I will give you a mouth and wisdom, which all your adversaries shall not be able to gainsay nor resist. And ye shall be betrayed both by parents and brethren and kinsfolk and friends, and some you shall say they cause to be put to death. And ye shall be hated by many men by your name's sake, but there shall not be a hair on your head to perish. And your patience possesses ye your souls." That just makes me think of you. Maybe I'm crazy, but a lot of people pop in my head when I'm reading my Bible, and you pop in my head every time I read that. So I thought I would share it with you. I know when you get up there, you have, we call it Dell on fire. You have something about you. I am so thankful you are in this movement, because I don't think we would be where we are without you. You have a way with words, and you have a way to get a crowd and people to listen, and it's amazing. It's very moving, and it's a gift because not everybody can do that. I mean, it's greatly appreciated. You are very, very loved, and, I know we have our trolls out there, but you know what? It's okay, because all they do is validate us, and, that's just the way I see it. But anyway, I guess I'll get to some of these questions we have from a lot of our listeners out there.
Let me speak. I do want to speak to that for a second, because I think that is a good quote, and it's something that I think that, I really take that principle to heart when I do speak. I mean, I think it's something that I want to sort of pass on to people that are getting in this movement. You find yourself talking to other people. I do my research, of course, and I read and I think about what I'm going to say, but the truth is before I ever step on a stage, then I sort of erase everything. I try and step into total emptiness, and then let the Spirit speak. What does this audience need to hear? That's what I can't predict. I mean, you can think about everything, every talking point you wanted. But it's really in the listening in many ways and being open. And I think that a lot of times when people sort of debate this topic, you talk to a friend, we go in with a preconceived idea of what we want to say, and we got to get all our talking points out. We got to prove we've done our homework, and I don't think that that's the approach. I think you got to trust you know what you know, but then when you talk to a friend or a group of people, whatever you're going to do, you have to let that go and try and feel them. Feel what is their question. Feel what is that, and feel that energy in that room, and listen. Of course, when I'm on a stage, I don't have to listen, but I do really try to listen to. I mean, I'm looking at the eyes, I'm looking at the faces, and feel, and I do believe God speaks through us. That's and I always say we're winning because I really believe there's something divine going on. I don't think we're supposed to be pumping 72 toxic injections into our children and counting and getting more and more. I don't think that was God's intention for us. I think medicine has its place. I think there's divine doctors and beautiful people in medicine. I worked on the daytime talk show, The Doctors, for 6 years. I wouldn't have been there if I didn't believe that there were great people there. But we have lost our way here. There is an insanity. There's a war going on between these science fanatics and nature, and they are cutting corners and doing everything. They're lying, begging, cheating, stealing to win this war against nature, and the only people that are really losing are those of us caught in the crossfire. And I don't think I think there's a divine calling, and I think you have to know that when you speak and allow that to come through. Know that you are being taken care of, that the words are going to come. You don't have to try to sound smart. Just listen to what the questions are coming to you, and then let the answer come through you.
Yeah, that's why I love my shows too. A lot of our shows, I've had some of the most interesting conversations with warriors. I would have never known they thought the way they thought, or you know what I mean. It's a trip when you actually get to dive in and just talk to somebody. Because we really just don't get that a lot. And, like we said earlier, when we meet up, it's usually for a big purpose. So it's kind of hard to get much one-on-one with our friends. And, but I think a lot of people are just kind of curious. We've had one person ask about the, oh, goodness, I got to find all my notes here. Got to flip all my pages over. Sandy Marcus, she said, do you have any updates on the ICANN notice that you sent to the HHS office? I can't get that out.
Honestly, yes. I haven't come public with it because we want to because obviously we're being watched with everything that we do. And I want to be transparent as I can with everyone in our movement. But we also have to be careful that we aren't, that we're prepared with our response. We don't want to. So we are currently working on a response to a response we just very, very recently got on the HHS notice. So this is inside intel. Nobody's asked me this question, but we are working on how we're going to respond to it so that it all comes out publicly at the same time. So everybody just hang in there. Okay. That will be very shortly. But we just don't want to look like we haven't thought it through because I think for obvious reasons. I will say this, that it is clear that ICANN and this notice has been taken, I think, more seriously than anything they've ever dealt with. It is a more thorough response than we've ever seen on the questions that we put forward. But I believe as we're combing through it and looking, they sent a lot of citations and things like that. So we're doing our due diligence to read everything that they have submitted in their response to see if it actually does answer our questions. And I can say that for the most part, I think you're not going to be surprised that it's not answering our questions. But that's where that's at right now. We're just in a short holding pattern while our team is of lawyers and doctors and scientists are all going through what the response has been.
All right. Well, hopefully that answered your question enough to where you will know that the answer is coming in the future. And I mean, I understand completely. There's a lot of things that you kind of just have to wait, and they'll be revealed in due time. Let's see here.
So
I have someone.
What I do. Yeah, I mean, I really, I just want people to know it really is important to me to be transparent. But on the other hand, I want people to know that I also don't do things without a strategy. That I think that there's a balance there that we're trying to strike. We may not always get it right, but we really do care about everyone involved in this movement and what's going on, and we're trying to represent you the best way when we find ourselves in these platforms where they are extreme. It's an extremely important moment. So we're just not. I don't rush. I might say I'm open to, and I let the spirit flow, but sometimes the spirit says, take your time, do this right, and that's what we're involved in when it comes to the HHS notice. And for people that aren't aware of what we're talking about, the HHS notice is essentially we laid out all of our arguments to the heads of Health and Human Services, specifically the Secretary of Health and Human Services, because there are rules and laws by which they are supposed to be dealing with vaccines based on the 1986 Vaccine Compensation Act and several other things that give us actually a legal basis should they not be doing their job appropriately, which we are in our notice essentially pointing out we don't believe that they are. Then it allows us the ability to put together a lawsuit. So we're going through. They have responded, and they didn't just send us a one-sentence response. It's a fairly thorough response, and so we're going to see what they've said, and you will know. The public will know once we have really, when I talk to the public, I only have a 1-hour show, and we're talking about multiple page documents with citations. So in order to boil that all down, we have to do it right. So there it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely don't want you to rush through that. It's very important, and I think everybody just gets excited when they know something big is happening. So everybody biting their fingernails, just waiting for what's going on.
Something big is happening. It is happening.
So, somebody also asked, do you know what Trump is up to right now when it comes to this topic?
I can honestly say I do not. I think I have talked to Bobby Kennedy a little bit about this. I think that I think because this is really, Trump's reach out to this movement really came through Robert F. Kennedy Jr. It's sort of in his court, and I think he feels like the ball was dropped. I believe he has stated that recently in a couple of articles. That doesn't mean that I think Bobby would be open to seeing that and is looking to have that discussion reopened. I think clearly we had attention from Donald Trump early on. I think it's also obvious to everybody that he's got a lot on his plate at the moment. And, one of the things I say, and look, I always want to couch this. It's important that I say, I'm still a registered Democrat. I'm a progressive liberal from Boulder, Colorado. This issue has certainly left me politically marooned. I am really, really, really upset with the party that I once sort of aligned myself with and do no longer. So all of that being said, Donald Trump is Donald Trump, and I'm not here to sort of discuss him as an overall president. Right. But what I will say is that even Donald Trump not doing anything is better than where we were going. I think that Donald Trump has pushed a pause button. I know this. This is what I do know. What I do know is he's cut funding to many of the health departments and agencies that would be, that were working towards an adult mandate of vaccines, so forced vaccines, not just for children but for adults. I think Hillary Clinton was very much in support of mandated vaccines for adults and an expansion of the vaccine program. So at the very least, if all we get from Donald Trump is a stay of execution, he has given us time to get our point across to this nation we live in and beyond, and the world. And I feel safe making having the discussions that we're having publicly. I think we're seeing more and more articles coming out. More journalists are finding the courage to tell the truth about vaccines, and more scientists. We're seeing studies come out, like the one that came out of the CDC that showed that there is definitely, a risk of miscarriage if you get a flu shot in the first trimester. I don't think those things would have been happening under a Hillary Clinton presidency. So if at the very least all he's done is made it safe for us to speak and is not pushing forward an agenda to force vaccinate everyone in this country, I think, that's good. Can he do more? We are going to continue to reach out. We're going to continue to demand that he does more. But I say this, and I say this as an environment. I'm an environmentalist. I know that upsets some people in the movement, but I have a very, a bunch of different views that I still hold true. But what I can tell you is that I am really concerned that the next liberal president that gets into office will bring forced injections. I don't want to call them vaccinations anymore. Forced injections for all. Do we really, is this the dream of our founding fathers, to be lined up as citizens of this country we call free and injected with products that we are never told what's in them, what they do? Every year the state decides. And I want people to think about, Hitler was elected. He was elected. This was something that RFK, Bobby, pointed out to me that his father was really obsessed with. He said, my father was really obsessed with Nazis. He says, because we always think of him as a dictator, but what's interesting is that he was elected into power. So we can, and that was honestly, one of the smartest, they were the most intelligent societies in the world was Germany. So intelligent people voted in a Hitler. Now, that's possible. I really believe, if you forget your history, you're doomed to repeat it. We have to remember those things. And we have to think about how much power we give any government, especially one in a free nation. So, okay, let's say vaccines are perfectly safe today, which I happen to know they're not, but let's go ahead and give you the benefit of the doubt. I would still be against mandated vaccination programs because I believe there is always the possibility that you could elect someone who hates Jews, doesn't like Latinos, doesn't like African Americans, doesn't like gay, bi, transsexuals, and do you really want to give that person power, the ability to be injecting you? Oh, so these people I don't like have to show up once a year for injections? Well, why don't we just add a sterilizing agent, which we've seen happen in Africa just recently? This isn't that far. If it's not that far outside of your imagination, or if the products already exist to inject into you so that you would never have children again, and it's been done in vaccines, and the only thing you're relying on is I just really trust my government will never be that bad. I have a bunch of governments that you can go and talk to the people that once thought that about their government. We do not, as intelligent citizens of a free nation, ever hand over that control over our bodies and the bodies of our children to the government. Our founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves right now. It's against everything. Why do you think they said you should always have a gun? They literally said it with their own words. I mean, now it's like you'd be afraid to say, they said you should be able to rise up against your government should it get out of control. Now, people will take that and say, Dell's telling people to rise up against your government. I'm not saying that. Our founding fathers said that. I'm quoting where our founding fathers were coming from.
That's right.
And it's becoming, and it's weird that we live in a
It's your duty. They literally tell you it's your duty.
It's your duty.
They tell you
and
if there's injustices happening like this, it is your duty to do something about it.
That's right. So it is our duty. And, I mean, not that we go out and it's not a duty with guns. I'm doing what my duty is. I'm stepping up and I'm telling the truth. I am an investigator. I have read the studies. I am looking at the studies. I am carefully going through the response that we just talked about from Health and Human Services. I'm not just going to knee-jerk attack them. Maybe they're right. Maybe they got something. Let me take a look at it. I am going to seriously read everything that's being presented to me, and then I will bring it out, and I'll bring out the truth. And for some reason, people say I'm a bad guy for doing that. I'm dangerous. That this is the world we're living in. That telling the truth could make you somehow dangerous to a nation that considers free speech one of its primary foundational principles.
It is a illusion of freedom.
Well, and it certainly will be if we continue on the road we're on. People have got to remember what freedom is. They have to remember what our founding fathers did to get it, how brave they were, and stand up and say, you know what? even if I don't agree with what that person's saying, that right to free speech is so important that I will weather it. And I will debate it, and I will have my point of view, and I can tell my kids what I think about what you just heard. But we must never lose the ability to have the most difficult conversations right out in front of the public eye.
Yep. I definitely agree. We have a caller on the line, and it actually looks like she's from the same state as me by her area code. So I'm going to bring on Gabrielle, I believe it is, real quick. Can you hear me, Gabrielle?
Yes, I can.
Awesome.
Lynette, I'm Julie's friend.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
Julie's friend.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I wanted to thank Lynette first because I was totally unaware of this vaccine issue until her little girl Lily was in Children's Hospital some time ago. But since then, I've watched The Truth About Cancer and Vaccines Revealed, and I bought Vax. And Dale, I want to thank you so much for making that movie and for all the times I've seen you watch on HighWire. The Truth About Cancer Live last October, you had everybody on their feet, even me at home. And thank you so much for what you're doing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Since I do live in Birmingham, Alabama, I wondered if you were, if you had seen that UAB has entered into a partnership with Merck to study the Gardasil vaccine with pregnant women. You know, they want to give it now to pregnant women, and they want to give it to babies. And it was in the paper, and it's scary. And it says they're going to persuade young girls. I'm having trouble seeing it, but it's like from 18 to 26-year-old mothers to become the first test subjects of the Gardasil vaccine. And
it's really horrifying. No, I was not aware of that specifically. I will look into that. It's Merck and UAB. I mean, what's incredible is how, you know, I point this out all the time. I think this opioid epidemic is a really good place to show people how this system works. That we hand all the safety studies and testing and trials to the people that are going to make billions of dollars off of the product. We say, you know what, even though we are seeing a crisis of addiction with, you know, OxyContin, they reached out to the makers and said, we're interested in possibly giving this to children, so could you do a safety study and let us know? This is the FDA requests this. The FDA doesn't do the study. We don't have independent government officials with some skepticism stepping in and doing a study. We hand it to the people that are going to make billions of dollars off of it and say, let us know what you come up with. And, oh, surprise, surprise, they come back and say, you know what, and they'll do the same thing with this. We looked into it, and it's perfectly safe to inject into pregnant women. So if you'd like to go ahead and put it on the market, well, thank you for doing that research. We are going to put it on the market, and hopefully the tens of billions of dollars you'll now make from it will, you know, make up for the trouble we put you through doing your own study. I mean, I'm not making this up. This is how this works. And you can't imagine another industry that would get away with this, you know. And where are our government agencies? Why don't we have our own independent scientists with some level of skepticism saying, you know, as it turns out, a corporation that is trying to sell a product will often put the best picture and image on that product and not the worst one. They're not going to show us the ugly details, only the best ones. I mean, it's so obvious when you say it out loud that human nature is such that, of course, if I'm trying to sell something, I'm going to try and make it look as good as possible and not tell you about the problems with it. I mean, we learn that ability at the age of about 18 months, you know, 2 years. As soon as we start talking, we learn how to excuse our mistakes and talk about the positive and divert attention from our hand in the cookie jar. And yet our entire governmental health department and system is designed to allow that to be considered science, the person lying about their hand in the cookie jar. It's crazy. And that vaccine, HPV, is so dangerous and so pointless. It is so pointless because HPV is not the issue they're making it. I mean, 95% of all of these women are going to clear HPV from their bodies naturally. Of that 5%, only remaining 5% will ever have it develop into, cancerous cells. And then if every one of those women does what they're supposed to, which is get Pap smears when they're required, then you can clear those cells out as soon as they're spotted. This isn't an issue. It's just a product for a non-issue that makes billions of dollars for an industry that happens to be the most powerful lobby in Washington and happens to be funding most of our politicians' campaigns. And that is the biggest problem we have in this nation. And I'm upset about it. They're destroying lives. There's no two ways about it. And if you're going to destroy lives, I would prefer you do it for something as dangerous as smallpox, not something like HPV, which is just a trivial human virus. And by the way, the vaccine has never shown that it will actually curb cervical cancer at all. And now, by the way, we were just at ACIP, they're going to start pushing it on men even more because there's a rise in anal cancers and oral cancers that they think are connected with the HPV vaccine. But what's fascinating is that rise has happened exactly at the time where boys have been getting the HPV vaccine, actually in higher numbers and in more increasing numbers than women have. So I don't know how they plan. They're selling it to people that this vaccine will stop these cancers in men, but the truth is the more men have gotten that vaccine, the worse their oral cancer and anal cancer has been.
That's right. And you don't really see a major decrease in HPV in women either. You just see this kind of plateauing, just sitting there kind of, hanging out at the same little spot. So it's not like it's this, oh, my goodness, we've completely got rid of this, and it's magical that this is happening to men. It's not like that. I mean, when I was sitting in there with you, the thing I was thinking was, okay, in my mind, all I'm thinking is you guys are giving this vaccine to men. You have no idea what it's doing, and all of a sudden, these men are ending up with these cancers. I would say, hey, they're most likely related, but, I'm no scientist here, but I know how to look at the stuff you're showing me with, take off my goggles. It's insane. I mean, it really is crazy. I mean, you were right about this too. You see, there were actually a few of them who weren't completely knuckleheaded and had a few good questions, but it was so sad to see how fast they were like, oh, well, we really don't have the data, or you can just look at previous studies of this thing and you can compare it to that, and we'll just say that it worked. Oh, okay, cool, it's good then. Like, what?
Yeah.
I paraphrase a good bit. I'm not word for word, but that's the way it was in my brain.
No, it's far more boring like that than that. No, that's exactly what's happening. It's shocking. Yeah.
Oh man.
If I could ask one other.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, as well as the truth about vaccines, I took the Vaccine Revealed course. It was 10 episodes. One episode was a full-length movie by Scott Miller, Vaccine Syndrome. And until I watched that video, I had no idea that since President Clinton signed the executive order, we've been giving mandatory anthrax vaccines to our military. And in that video, it was over an hour, I think, it just brought tears to your eyes, the people that were killed, sickened, couldn't do their job anymore. They were not allowed to refuse the shot. They would be kicked out of the military, fined, put in the brig. People gave up their 26-year pension because they refused to take any more of the anthrax vaccines. It was full of squamine or something. Yeah, and I haven't talked to one person outside of the military that even knows this is going on.
Yeah.
And they had pilots
that movie is very disturbing.
Well, it's all part of this vaccine issue, isn't it?
It is. It's and the military is, they're getting more vaccines than anybody, and they have the sickest children in this country. They're not even just from vaccinating their own kids. They're being born with more issues than is normal. They're, and so it's clear these vaccines are not only affecting them but their offspring. I saw this, Polly and I saw this a lot when we were traveling in the vax bus all over the country. A lot of military guys would come forward. They would not be able to be on camera because they said it broke their agreement or whatever, but privately they would say, I'm having seizures every time I get vaccinated. One guy came to a screening and says, I have seizures every 45 minutes, and sure enough, 5 minutes later, Andy Wakefield was out there, handling him as he was having a seizure out in front of the theater. We're taking our best and brightest, and we're destroying their bodies and minds with vaccines that haven't been able to really even prove whether they work. The anthrax vaccine is, in any studies, when you go to ACIP, it looks like it's so ineffective, really. And what's shocking is, there was one, the last time, not the previous time before this, when we went to the ACIP meetings, they got up and talked about, there was one, see, you have to understand, it's a very dangerous vaccine, and we can't test giving people anthrax after getting the vaccine to see if it actually works. So that's the problem with a vaccine like that. And to be clear, I'm aware that I do want my nation and my government looking at the possibility of biological weapons and how do we deal with it. And I understand, that anthrax is a potential, has a potential delivery system like that. So I'm not against all of those things. But there was a group of CDC scientists and employees that all had been thought that they might have been exposed during the letter bombs and all of the anthrax things in the mail, and for whatever reason, something like that had gotten onto the campus. And so there's like 60 individuals who were all believed to have come in direct contact with anthrax. And so they ran them through the anthrax protocol. But what was shocking was from the very beginning, there was like 10% of them that refused to even start the program on the anthrax vaccine. And then it was a program of 3 vaccinations. After the first vaccine, they had a huge drop-off. Like 30% of the people dropped out of the program. And then after the second, another 30. By the end of there was I think it was like 15 to 20% of the original group ended up making it all the way through all 3 anthrax vaccinations. This is all at ACIP. They say this openly. Yep. Nobody, I guess this is where everyone's got their earplugs in. And then they say when asked why they stopped or dropped out of the protocol, the 75% said adverse events. So here you had scientists that had a choice. And by the way, weren't just randomly trying this thing out of nowhere, believed they had come in contact with this deadly anthrax spore or whatever it is, and still dropped out of the program because the adverse events were so bad. So there it is. That's the only real human subject that we've ever been able to look at right on the CDC campus, and they all said, screw this. I'd rather take my risk with the disease itself.
Well, our military isn't given that choice.
They're not given that choice, and you're right. It's
and they're
tragic.
not told what they're being given. They're usually told like a number and a letter or some BS. They're not even told which vaccine it is. So when they have a reaction, they have no idea what to look for to help themselves.
True, but that's true for every single American. I mean, one of the things I say is, if you join the military, you sign your life away. You decide to make that choice. But if you're just a regular citizen in this country, you didn't sign your life away, and you're being treated the same way. You're not being told. All you're told is MMR, HPV, DTAP. Like, that doesn't mean anything to anyone. Nobody knows what's actually in that, including your own doctor. If you ask them, they don't know what's in it. And that's that's problematic. I didn't join the military.
And they don't know what tetanus is either, Dell. They don't even know what it is because, my daughter, I guarantee you she has severe autism, her global development delay, epilepsy. I guarantee you that Tdap when I was pregnant is why, and I had a little cut on my finger that took 2 stitches. And they told me that if I didn't get that and I got tetanus, my baby would die in the womb. And so I get this thing, and, this is my 5th child. My other kids didn't go through this. It's like, what in the world? It's insane to me. And I didn't know any better. And I've already gone back and given that ER doctor plenty of information on why it was not correct, how there's no safety studies on it, how when you told me, yes, this is safe for pregnant women, you lied to me. you know? And I think if everybody was able to get out there and do that and show these people, you might actually be able to wake more of them up. I've been lucky enough. People, most places I go, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Some people tell me it might be just because I'm crazy looking and they feel like they better just agree. But who knows? But I mean, even there's a woman who is the head of the place who diagnoses autism around where I live, who welcomes my information. She probably watches your show now because I sent her links. I sent her to Dr. Suzanne. I sent her the movie Back, and she was just floored, had no idea this whole other side of this, just reaching out to people. Yeah, they don't even know we're here. I poured my heart out in there.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lynette. I was just going to ask Del, did she think that if we have 11 ex-military people committing suicide every day, that anthrax vaccine might factor in there? And it was just an executive order. Why can't it just be canceled?
Well, because if it was canceled, then people, they're afraid. This is what they're afraid of. If we do anything drastic, if we do anything appropriate, like cancel something, we're going to draw attention to it, and they're afraid it's an admission of guilt. And so they would just rather stick with something. Like I said, when you go to ACIP, they frame their discussion in a way that it's never the vaccine's fault, And I think we should be looking at this across the board. It's not just military suicide. Suicides in college campuses are up. Depression's up. Everybody's on meds. Everyone's depressed, And again, we can't discuss, of all the discussions happening in Washington, and even people that are so pro-NRA trying to defend it can't just be the guns. They won't even mention the fact that why don't we look at the drugs these kids were on? Why don't we look? Were they depressed? Were they on antidepressants? Why were they depressed? Even when you're trying to defend your right to guns, I've watched this guy give this great speech, but he touched on everything except for the fact that how about all these kids are on antidepressants, which the side effect is suicidal thoughts, and how is it that every drug seems to have suicidal thoughts as a side effect, but vaccines don't? What do people think makes the vaccine different? Because it's biologics? You have the same types of toxins. You're still injecting, neurotoxins like aluminum and formaldehyde, and we know, you guys know all the list of ingredients, but what is it that makes people think of vaccines? And they think it's water. They think it's water and a little virus, and it's different than any other drug. It's just the same process, and you're right.
That's what I thought, Bill. That's what I thought.
Well, they think it's drug tested. They think it's drug tested.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's
scary, and people don't.
Go ahead.
We do have a lot of people who may not know who are listening in. I gave out so many things for the show and invited people from so many places. We probably do have a lot of listeners who haven't heard much on this topic yet. And, down from the lady at the gas station up the street. You know what I'm saying? I do invite a lot of people. So, people are just hearing this for the first time. And it is so important, all this information and people understanding that, this is such a big topic. It's not just one vaccine. It's all vaccines, and you really do have to pay attention. It's not informed consent. If you just get this little piece of paper that says redness at the site, possible fever, or a little bit of crankiness, that is not the piece of paper that you should be handed and that you should be taking home with you if you do make the decision to do this. But before you make that decision, you have got to read the piece of paper that comes in that box that tells you every ingredient and every toxin and every harmful thing that is in there that you don't have a clue about, and that your doctor in the same room as you probably has no clue about. And that's the truth of it. It's sad, but ask them if they know an ingredient in the vaccine and watch them stammer and go, oh, hold on, because they have to go look it up. That's so sad but true. And when they hurt your kid, and when they hurt your kid, they divorce you right off the bat. You're gone. You're out of here. We don't want to see your kid anymore. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, my friend's son committed suicide, and he was a career military. And when I told her about the vaccine, she asked her other son, was he required to take the mandatory anthrax vaccine? And he said, yeah. How'd you find out about that? People don't know about it. Could you do a HighWire and talk about the mandatory military vaccine?
Yeah, I will look into doing that. I'm writing it down now.
I want you to know we all appreciate you so much out here, and you too, Lynette. I just bought 100 of those 4x6 cards about vaccines to pass out, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't know about this. So thank you again, and I'll get off the line. Somebody else can call in.
Oh, I love you. Thank you so much. I hope
Thank you, Gabrielle.
Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Well, I love her. She is always supportive.
Yeah. For people that are just joining in, let me just sort of lay out what I think is the most important point. There's a huge, and if people want to really get, all of the issues that I'm out talking about, they can go to my website, icandecide.org, and download. We have a couple of white papers, which is essentially a paper that lays out all of our complaints and with citations, so you can look them up. There's nothing that I'm talking about that isn't published science or unpublished science. I mean, if I'm saying there is no published science on vaccine safety, what I mean is they've never used a scientific method. I think the most important point people should know about this, if you're brand new to it, is, Bobby Kennedy and I had the opportunity to go to the heads of the National Institute of Health, CDC, HHS, FDA. It's about 10, 12 people that are the heads of our health departments. And the primary question was this: the scientific method for determining safety in drugs and vaccines, as I had thought, but is what we all call the double-blind placebo-based study. And what that is where one group in a trial period for a brand new drug or a new vaccine is supposed to get, if it's a pill, one group gets the drug, and then you take a group of people who get a pill that looks just like the drug. It's a sugar pill painted like the drug. And they call it double-blind because the people in the study don't know what they're getting, and the scientists don't know who got what, so the scientist's bias can't be involved. And then we track those people for 10 years as they continue to take this drug or use this vaccine, and we see, does one group have, more cancer or, more gene mutations and things like that. And if the drug comes out and is healthy, or it has the same implications as the inert, and I use that word very carefully, inert placebo, then we approve it and it goes onto the market. Well, what Bobby Kennedy and I said, we said to the heads of our health departments, we can't find a single double-blind placebo-based study that used an inert placebo in any of our childhood vaccine approvals. And we'd said, are they not being done, or are they being hidden, or is there somewhere you could produce these very important, because if you're saying vaccines are safe, there's only one way you can do that. You have to have this placebo-based study. And they hemmed and hawed, and in the end they said, no, we don't do them for vaccines. And we said, why? And they said, because it would be unethical, meaning that they work under the assumption that a brand new vaccine is so beneficial to society that to have a test group that's in a placebo group that isn't getting this great brand new vaccine for 4 or 5 years while we look at the safety of those that are getting it, it would be unfair to them. And therefore, we don't do it. I mean, you can question whatever you want about that science. I mean, it's really, but besides the point, what I try to say is that happened last year. And so whether or not you agree with that principle, what you now know is that the heads of our health department all just admitted that not a single vaccine that is being given to our children in 72 doses over their 18 years of life, not one of those vaccines has ever used a scientific method to determine safety. And under that vaccine program, we have seen a skyrocketing of autism, skyrocketing of diabetes, skyrocketing of autoimmune disease. And then I say, to put it as clearly as I can, when we look at a rise from 12.8% autoimmune disease in the 1980s, when we got 10 vaccines, to now a 54% of our children have an autoimmune neurological disorder, and we're getting 72 vaccines, people will say, well, how do you know it's not the food? How do you know it's not the water? How do you know it's not our air? And I don't. I think, and I do believe with these types of increases, we should be spending probably billions of dollars as a government to protect our citizens and investigate all of those things. But if we're going to talk about autoimmune disease, which means your body your immune system has gotten confused and is now attacking your own cells, and it's showing up as asthma as an autoimmune disease, eczema as an autoimmune disease, diabetes is an autoimmune disease, multiple sclerosis, you go on and on and on. But if we're going to talk about our immune system being confused and attacking ourselves at higher rates than we've ever seen, shouldn't we put the most focus on the one product of all those we just mentioned, the one product that is designed to alter your immune system for life? Because that's what it does. A vaccine is designed to alter your immune system. In fact, if you describe it in the simplest terms, it tricks your immune system into thinking it's had a disease it has not had, like polio or measles. And so is it possible in the tricking of our immune system? We don't just trick it once. We don't just trick it twice, 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, 50 times, 72 times we are tricking the immune system of our children. And lo and behold, we have the highest rates of immune systems that are confused and attacking themselves. I'm sorry, it seems obvious to me. And when you have scientists that, when I make that exact point, they say that's preposterous to think that there would be a connection.
Coincidence.
Really?
Coincidence disorder, my friend.
That scares me.
Yeah.
That scares me. You could say, they should say, well, we have looked into that, Del, and the truth is we're not seeing it. We've investigated all those autoimmune diseases, and though it would seem logical what you just said, that doesn't actually add up to be true. But that's not what they say. What they say is that is preposterous, and that response is preposterous to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they treat you like that face to face when you go through it. My daughter, the one that the last caller was talking about, she received 6 vaccines while she had thrush. And I fought them tooth and nail about this. I told them we've only ever allowed 2 at a time due to the way she reacts afterwards. She always cries so much. I said, I don't know if it's the pain or what. I didn't know what was in them at that point. I didn't even think to look. I just thought they hurt, and I didn't want to do that many at once. And they said, we've got to catch her up now. If we don't and something happens, then you can actually be in trouble for neglect. And so I'm like, oh, crap, well, I guess I have to do this. And, I took her in for thrush. And so they give her these 6. And next thing you know, we're in the hospital 26 days, or in fever 26 days straight before they would ever even admit her. We went to every ER. We went back and forth to the pediatrician, and they kept telling us to go to Center for Infectious Disease over here. And they kept saying, well, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. And I finally told these people, you'll see my kid now or she'll be dead. And so they finally brought us in, and they were like, look, you were right to fight to have her in here because she was going septic. And no matter what they did, nobody would ever say this could have been the vaccines in the room with their colleagues. But if you got any of them to come in that room by themselves, they would always go with my questions and act like, yes, it really could have been that because, this is a very interesting thing. This kid went through bone marrow aspirations and biopsies. We went through so much else, 7 weeks in that children's hospital. We still have to give her Neupogen injections every couple of days to even have white blood cells. And her neutrophils, to have any, she has to have injections. And she's so smart. She's like a little 4-year-old activist in herself. She knows this stuff. She walks around screaming, CDC, tell the truth. It's sad that this is her life, but, they don't know who they're messing with. They're taking this whole next generation, and they're turning them into activists, too. And, I always tell people, they tried to bury us, but they didn't realize we're seeds. We really are seeds. And we are just spreading it's just crazy to see how many people are going, oh, my goodness, you guys. Nurse friends of mine who think, they thought I was crazy talking about this stuff. And now they're messaging me, Lynette, I just ended up with almost paralyzed from the flu shot I was forced to get. And please tell me more about the stuff you talk about. It's crazy because you never know who's listening. So, and we're going to go to a quick commercial break. I hope you can hang with me some more, Del. We have another caller who just called in and wants to ask you a couple questions. Awesome. All right, we'll be right back, everybody. I got to help Freedomizer pay the bills.
You know the Constitution like the back of your hand. You've read books, listened to podcasts, attended lectures, surfed websites, and watched videos. You've made liberty your life's goal, but something seems to be missing. Stickers from LibertyStickers.com. Exercise your freedom of speech with the world's most dangerous bumper stickers. That's libertystickers.com. But wait, there's more. You can buy Liberty Stickers wholesale. Get them for 99 cents each when you put 100 or more in your shopping cart in any combination. Sell them or give them away. They're great for gun shows, flea markets, fairs, outreach, and more. Earn extra money, promote freedom, and spread the word. Need custom stickers, labels, or decals for your organization or business? Liberty Stickers makes them. Go to libertystickers.com to order or call 877-873-9626. libertystickers.com, the world's most dangerous stickers.
You're an activist. You have a cause and an idea, but you also have lots of questions. You need help. After all, teams have coaches, corporations have consultants, and even politicians have campaign managers. But who do activists turn to? The Solutions Institute. We are a collection of professionals and activists from across the political spectrum. Our goal is to teach, motivate, and put all the necessary tools for activism in your hands without charge. Learn more or submit your project at solutions-institute.org.
Vaccines are required for students, employees, immigrants, military members, and international travel. Do you know how to legally avoid them? This is vaccine rights attorney and Freedomizer radio host Alan Phillips. My vaccine exemption ebook can help you avoid the mistakes that have cost others their exemption rights. Get the authoritative guide to vaccine legal exemptions, an ebook available at freedomizerradio.com and vaccinerights.com.
Let freedom ring throughout the land.
Are you looking for a new place to shop, eat, and save? Are you sick of paying full price? Would you like to save money at the places you enjoy most? Well, here's a popular savings book that is full of coupons catered to your local area. It's called Save Around. This book is full of exclusive discounts to help you save money around your town. Yes, that's Save Around. You will save money at restaurants, department stores, cars, even flowers. When I take my family out, there are 7 of us. The average meal was about $110 to $140. Last time I took them out, and I'm holding a copy of the receipt right here, the check originally was $120. With the Save Around book, our meal cost $82 at a place we go to quite often. Who knew? And there are a few places we found that we are going to check out. View the books in your area before you buy. Go to freedomizerradio.com or barefootislegal.org. Just click on your city, and within a few days, you will be saving money around town with your new Save Around book.
All right, if you are just tuning in, you are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show on Freedomizer Radio. I am your host, Lynette Marie Barron, and today I have a very special guest, Mr. Del Bigtree, on with me. And let me see, are you still there, my friend?
I'm here.
All right, so I got him. Let me see, we've got a caller in, my buddy Mindy. Mindy, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Awesome. All right, friend, what is your question for Mr. Del Bigtree?
It's not really a question. It's more kind of a continuing of the conversation.
All right.
The previous speaker was talking about the whole anthrax thing, and as you know, I am unfortunately injured by the anthrax vaccine.
Yes, ma'am.
I did 20 years in the Air Force. I had 7 of those shots, and I have multiple muscle degeneration in both eyes. And I never thought to contribute it to the anthrax vaccine until after my daughter was born, and I started looking at the side effects of that vaccine and realized right there under the side effects is one of my issues. I've also got Hashimoto's, which is, of course, an autoimmune issue. So I guess my statement really is if you do want to do a show, Mr. Bigtree, on anthrax, you can include my story if you'd like. I was actually on the show with Lynette back in October, so you can go back and listen to that if you'd like. Because anthrax is not a joke. That shot is horrible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Mindy.
Yeah, well, I've had a lot of military people I've
Lynette,
spoken to in person.
Lynette, you can forward me.
I definitely will. I definitely will.
Privately, that'd be great.
I definitely will. I'll send you her show with me as well.
Thank you. It looks like both of my children have the MTHFR genetic mutation, thanks to all the shots that they gave me too. So yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. How are they doing? How's your children's health?
Well, I started looking into all the vaccine things and the genetic mutations because my daughter was being made sick by formula. And the doctors were all like, it's just a cold, and I'm like, you're an idiot. Obviously, It's not a cold if she is sick for months on end and not getting any better. So I stopped going to the doctor, and I got her better myself by taking her off formula. And my son is almost 2 months old now, and he's got the exact same issue. And I had him on an organic formula, and I looked at the ingredients, and it says right on there folic acid. And everybody knows if you've got the MTHR genetic mutation, you can't have folic acid. And then I started reviewing the foods that my daughter reacts to in addition to the formula, and lo and behold, all of them have folic acid in them. So
wow.
Yeah. So
I wonder if goat milk may be an option. I'll have to do some research, but we actually have our daughter who is severely autistic, and we had made it to like formula number 8 because I didn't end up getting my milk with her because I almost died having her. So my body went through too much, and it just didn't happen. So we had to do formula. And when, we made it to formula number 8 and this kid's still vomiting everywhere, either diarrhea or constipated, just miserable, I bought dairy goats and I started milking them myself. I know everybody can't do that, but, it is easy to find sometimes, getting milk locally to you. And, it made such a huge difference for her. I don't think I'd ever go back. The only other thing that they get sometimes is like, cashew or coconut milk if they go to grandma's. But I know it really did make a big difference in a lot of ways for her. So it may be just something to look into because it is kind of the next best thing to breast milk if you do some reading into it.
Yeah, we tried the goat milk and the cow milk organic formula, and both of them had the same results.
Yeah, I didn't do the formula too. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of them also have actually aluminum in them and a lot of other bad ingredients when it comes to formulas. You have to be so careful.
On Saturday, I switched him over to a homemade cow's milk formula, and he's getting better. Just like with my daughter, when I took her off the formula and put her on the EVAP milk for that week, the mucus started coming up. We're having that same result now. Obviously, if it doesn't work as well as what did with her, I'm going to make some changes. My other issue with the homemade formula recipe I've got, I don't think it's got enough of certain vitamins in it, and I very much don't think it has enough iron in it. So I'm thinking I need to find a different recipe or maybe find some more fortified ingredients or something. But he's only been on this recipe now for less than 48 hours. So it's too early to tell right now if it's going to work or not. But I do know for sure that he cannot have any commercial formula on the market. All of them have folic acid in. So
it's crazy how much all these kids have to suffer.
Yes. Yes. But I just wanted to put that offer out there for you if you want some assistance or support or whatever.
Okay.
Have a good day.
All right. Sounds good. All right.
Bye.
Awesome. Yeah, Mindy's one of my warrior friends. She got to come on and tell her story with me a couple months back, and I think it was last year. And I just got that up on my YouTube channel for everybody. You can go to Forsaken Generation Radio Show on YouTube, and you can listen to my show with Mindy and many, many others on there as well. And as I get them converted, they will be up as I can. But it's a trip. I know you travel a lot. I think every time I see you, it's always you guys talking about where's the next place you're going, and you have an amazing team behind you, and you guys are all just so wonderful. I think you know how lucky you are to have Catherine and Patrick and Jeffrey and Jimmy by your side. It's got to be amazing to have that when you're doing your show as well. I know for me, I do all of this alone, so sometimes if you're up all night with your kid going crazy and everything like that, people probably listen to them and they're like, oh, Lord, this woman's nuts. But you know what? That's just the way it goes. I'm a one-woman team right now when I do this stuff, but I'm getting out there. Your Mom on the Street thing inspired me, and I actually got some equipment. And I am actually getting out there with my Forsaken Generation and my microphone and asking hard questions and educating people and trying to use my platform as a radio show host to actually educate more people and just ask them things, see what they know, see if they even know what the ACIP is, just do different little things like that to help bring some awareness in the different places I go. So,
great. Yeah, I mean, I do. I feel very blessed. I'm surrounded by great people, and it's been an incredible journey for me. And people will say, they saw that I was, producer on The Doctors and had a television career that was going fine, and why would you leave? And the truth is because the truth is the truth, and you have to tell the truth. At least that's how I was raised. It's also, what inspires me. And then to find people that are hardworking and as passionate as I am, it's a great time. It's a great time for all of us. I think that, we tend to spend too much energy on how difficult this road is, or feeling like giving up at times. And, throughout history, it's always darkest before the light. It's always, it's going to take all of us. But I think, at least for me, you always sort of want to have been a part of those historic moments. Well, we're living in one right now. It's incumbent upon us to all step up and recognize that we are either going to live in a nation where you are free to say what you believe, to raise your kids how you believe, to have the religion that you want to believe in, and to have the medical choices that you believe in. I woke up this morning really thinking, I wonder if there's any way to really get into the fact that our medical system is a religion. It is based on a lot of assumptions, a lot of faith, has not nearly the amount of science we're being told exists to defend it, and it's being forced upon us. We're not supposed to have a religion forced upon us. Well, I, believe that there's a religious war going on, and it's between these scientists and nature. And I happen to be someone that is much, my belief is that we are created, whole, that we are designed to live on this planet, that nature, if we work with nature, if we watch what we eat, if we're careful with ourselves, we're as strong as we can be. I don't believe that injecting my babies and myself with toxins makes me a stronger, healthier person. You're allowed to believe that you can have that belief, but you can't force that belief on me. And that, and if you're forcing it and then not able to defend any of the questions that we have brought up in this movement, and it really bothers me that mainstream media continues to act like, these crazy anti-vaxxers, try answering some of our questions. We're not asking ridiculous questions. Why can't you find a placebo-based study, and how are you happy with that? CNN, Sanjay Gupta, Rachel Maddow. Right. How do you feel secure in a product? What other product do you talk about? Do you go at, look at Rachel Maddow will talk about glyphosate at times, or pesticides and things like that. What is it about this product that you were willing to give it a free ride, no testing, and you're going to trust the very makers, the same people that bring you OxyContin or Vioxx, that lied to the American public, killed tens of thousands of people, same exact company makes your vaccines, and yet you don't want to be able to sue them. You don't want any safety testing of those products. Anybody that thinks that is requesting safety testing is a crazy person, that's crazy. So but this is the time we live in. I'm kind of inspired because last night I watched Darkest Hour with my wife about Churchill, and one thing I get out of movies like that is how bad my history lessons were in America, how little I really know about my history, but just this amazing story of literally, at times it's almost down to one man. I mean, had he not had the cojones to step up and say, all of their troops are stuck on Dunkirk, and I didn't realize he had been handed that mess. I thought he was in World War II kind of from the beginning. I didn't realize they get so upset with their prime minister, they get rid of him, and they just throw Churchill in right at the moment where all of his troops are abandoned on a beach, and it looks like the Nazis are going to kill all of them. Nazis are taking France. They've just taken Belgium. And everybody, in his cabinet is essentially, or around him, is saying, we're going to have to just surrender. We think if you don't surrender and have Mussolini, negotiate a peace deal with Hitler for us, then we're going to fire you. I mean, it's an incredible story. And this guy in the middle of that just gets down deep. He's listening to the people, but just says no. What type of freedom, what type of surrender would that be? No, we fight. And it looked really bad. I say it all the time in my speeches about our founding fathers. It looked really bad going up against the British, armada. But it does look bad in the moments. But if you reach down, if you look inside your heart and you say, but isn't the truth the most important thing? Isn't freedom and what this country stands for more important than the pharmaceutical bottom dollar? And I don't care if Rachel Maddow's been bought out or if she, and I bring her up because I used to practically worship her as a journalist myself, and to watch her so miss on this discussion, so not do her homework. And she's not the only one. There's no one in news that's doing their homework. No one is stepping up and investigating this. And it's scary. It's scary that you can look at, you can look my name up, Del Bigtree, you can watch my show HighWire. All I do is ask science-based questions based on their own science, their lack of science, their published studies. Why is it that nobody, as soon as they recognize, miscarriage in the first trimester with a flu shot, and then some specialist goes on NBC and says, yes, it's true, but we're doing other studies to see if that was an accurate study, and we still are saying we recommend the flu shot. And nobody in media says, do you think that's a good recommendation? They don't even challenge her. Do you think that is a good idea? I mean, why should we continue using
They were like, so it breaks down to the
dangerous.
Recommendation is, they're like, just get your flu shot. That's what it breaks down to.
Just because. I mean, you think about these people losing their jobs for not getting a flu shot, a vaccine that they have admitted is 10% effective. I always think about as a journalist, is it the way we hear it? Is it 10% sounds like a lot to people? Maybe if I said this, 9 out of 10 people, this vaccine is totally ineffective. Or 1 out of 10 people have success with this vaccine. And maybe the 10% just isn't reading. But people are being fired because they don't want to take a product that is only effective for 1 out of 10 people. I mean, it's incredible to me. And honestly, I think it's the biggest mistake pharma's ever made in our medical system, because it is, deep down, people, it is making them doubt. It is making them question the sanity of our health departments that are pushing a product that is 10% effective and has known side effects like Guillain-Barré syndrome and paralysis. Yeah. You make a nurse, you give a nurse a scarlet letter if she doesn't want to get the flu shot, by wearing a mask in the hospital. But if you get your vaccine, which is only going to help 1 out of 10 of you, so 9 of you are still going to be contagious if you get flu, walk around, but you don't have to wear a mask. I mean, where's the sense in that? Who would ever, that's unbelievable to me, We know 9 of you are going to be just as contagious as possibly as unvaccinated person, but because you got your vaccine, you've been a good girl, you don't have to wear your scarlet letter.
They're sending people to our side. Yeah, they're creating warriors.
Them. They are driving them to our side, Lynette, in droves. We are growing. My show is growing. Yours is growing. We are growing every day, and they are losing every day because they are not right. They're wrong. That's right. And the truth actually does win. So if you're out there questioning, Should I discuss this? Should I talk to my friend? It's the truth. And what happens if that friend does have their child injured? If you've seen the story of the Catones, Nick and Marjorie Catone in New Jersey, whose baby died after a vaccine, and all she says is, all my friends that came forward and says, yeah, we don't vaccinate because of it. And she says, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you warn me?
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person.
I have friends who knew, didn't tell me either. Thank you. Me too, Dale. I agree. I had friends who knew, who had siblings, who had family members who had vaccine injury. Here I am having babies. I'm old. Nobody tells me a thing, And I'm like, what in the world? I mean, when it happens to your kids, I don't like that so many people say, well, it has to happen to you before they wake up. No, it doesn't, because there are so many people. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier on the show, that girl who showed up at my house yesterday. That baby is a couple weeks old. He has had 0 vaccines because my husband happened to mention to his wife, she may want to check me out on Facebook because we had some farm animals, and they were getting some pigs and roosters from us. So she starts following what I'm doing with vaccines, and I had no idea. This baby has had none. They're going to use the same GP we do so that they can keep it that way. And, I mean, it's just amazing to me because you don't even know how many people are listening to you that you have. I mean, you just don't know. I mean, get out there and talk. You don't have to have a radio show. You can just talk to people. I talk to people every time I go to Walmart, the post office. I mean, anywhere you go.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's otherwise, then we are an accomplice. We're an accomplice in a huge crime against children. If we know and we don't say something, and somebody goes and is injured, it's I take it on as a duty, and especially I speak at a lot of chiropractic conventions, and when I hear chiropractors that aren't vaccinating their own kids but don't bring it up with their own clients, I'm just think, wow. What happens? How will you look them in the eyes if they come back and say, I now know my child was injured by vaccines, autistic or whatever it is, and your kids are so healthy and you never told me? I came to you for advice. I came to you for help and you never told me? I don't know how people justify that. And luckily there's so many chiropractors that are telling the truth. And I always say, look, if you want to know, they're like, well, what happens if I don't vaccinate? What about how dangerous they are? I was like, go check out your chiropractor's kids and tell me if you think they look like they're in danger.
Right.
And ask yourself this: how many people died of meningitis? How many kids died of meningitis? How many kids died of measles? How many died of chickenpox? Then ask yourselves, how many kids have autism? How many kids have asthma? You are seeing vaccine injury everywhere. So when people say, well, I guess you have to weigh the risk of the vaccine versus the risk of the disease, yeah, you really do. You have to think about the fact that, the death rate of measles was like 1 in 450,000 before the vaccine ever arrived. You have to think about polio. It was like 1 in 4 or 5,000, I think, died of polio. Many of them got over it naturally and were fine. And we're at 1 in 36. Not 36,000 children, not 3,600 children, not 360 children. We're at 1 of every 36 children in America is being diagnosed with autism, which for most is a lifelong debilitating disease where you will never even be able to live on your own. In dramatic situations, be wearing diapers as adults, being taken care of. Now, yes, they will try to point to those Asperger's kids that do very well eventually and go on to college, and thank God for them, and they are important in this discussion too, but they are not the only discussion. And they are really they're not even the largest percentage of the discussion. And there's all these tricks that are being used to try. We got to accept autism. Can you imagine saying we've got to accept cancer? You got to accept blindness, when, these are the types of things that, yes, it happens. But if you find out blindness is caused by vitamin A deficiency, does it make you anti-blind people to start giving people vitamin A? I don't think so.
No. And, I was going to say,
Hello?
they don't count her because she has a Oh, sorry, I had to get a drink. Let me see. We've got another caller on the line. Let me see if I can get them on. We've got a couple that when I click.
You just connected with Dell, so I'll hang up because Dell is still waiting on the phone.
Okay, I got Dell. All right. Awesome. All right. But sometimes, I don't know what it is. We have people drop. It's not all the time. When my show with Brian Hooker, we had lots of drops, and same with my show with Forrest. I think sometimes you never know what's happening. I'm just going to call it mysterious and not try to read too much into it.
Sounds good. Can you hear me? You're going in and out on my end, Lynette.
Okay, let me see if I can get mine there. Okay, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay, awesome. Like I'm doing that commercial. Can you hear me now? All right.
Yes.
But yeah, we were just talking about the autism rates and things of that nature. The fact to me that you get a lot of people who will say, it's not that bad. Just look around you now. I can go anywhere and talk to anybody, and everybody knows somebody with autism. And, it is insane that you're talking about it, I'm talking about it, but you don't hear the big mainstream people talking about it. But then you see Chicago, Fox News, measles break out in the airport. Oh, my God, everybody's going to die.
Right.
It's crazy to me because, I get in there and I just drop truth nuggets everywhere because it frustrates me that so many people are like, oh, my God, what are the symptoms? I think I have diarrhea. Oh, my God, I might have it. It's like, oh, here we go again. And it's sad, but so many warriors are jumping in these feeds that now if you click top comments for these news channels, it's our people. So we are definitely making a difference. That's so important to me. I jump in Trump's feeds all the time. Thousands of people are in those feeds. And believe it or not, yes, I get people who tell me to shut the F up, but I also get people who like it and comment and come find me and want to know more. So, stick yourself out there. Yes, people are going to be rude sometimes, but, that's any part of life. That's anything you do,
Well, just to take issue with it's not that bad, which does seem to be what people think. And you know how they come to that determination is that their news isn't talking about it. So if the news isn't talking about it, it's not that bad. And they're writing off the fact that they're seeing more and more of it around them. But, it's the same thing, so I was talking to my mother the other day, and she said, Well, I mean, I guess I have to take my risk with the disease itself or the vaccine. It's like, yeah. But the truth is you could name off other diseases and issues that could kill you so fast you wouldn't even know it, that are in warm water, in a hot tub. 10 people have died of a brain-eating amoeba that can grow there. If they had a vaccine for it, you would suddenly hear about it. And then they'd say, you got to get this vaccine because 10 people have died in the last 20 years from this brain-eating amoeba, but they don't have a vaccine for it, and no one's really spending the money on it, so you don't hear about it. Well, you only hear about a disease because they have something they're trying to sell you. But when you think of autism, I think you have to think of the numbers. Just look at it from a financial place for this nation. If we're at 1 in 36, which is what the last sort of survey that was done by the CDC found, 1 in 36 children, that means that if it just stays there, if it just for some reason stops, and we were at 1 in 68, a few years ago, we were at 1 in 10,000 in the 1980s. If you've watched Vaxxed, you know that we've graphed that out and show that if something doesn't slow this rate of increase, we'll be at 1 in 2 children being diagnosed by 2032. I've even heard Stephanie Seneff speak since our film, and I think now she's saying her new calculations are by 2025 we're going to be diagnosing 1 in 2 children. But let's just say we stay at 1 in 36. That means that, when my kids, 20 years from now, when my kids are walking around, there's going to be 5 million new adults with autism. It costs the CDC, I've seen estimates from 3 to 5 million. The lowest number I've seen is it costs $2 million to raise a child with autism. So let's just take that number. 2 million times 5 million adults with autism means that the debt to autism 20 years from now is $10 trillion based on all the most conservative numbers. If you go as high as 5 million, it could be $25 trillion in debt to just the amount of autism in that group. Forget about the ones behind them. And if this increases, there's no insurance system that can afford that. You don't have an insurance system that can be cranking out $10 trillion in payouts. So this is a crisis that is going to be horrific for us to deal with on a physical level, but on a financial level, this bankrupts America. And nobody's talking about that. And that's what I try to wake people up is, why do you think they're not talking about it? Because it's a non-issue? It's the biggest crisis of our times. It's the only exponentially growing disease or illness, or however you want to look at, in this country. Everything else is on a more modest curve. This is exponential growth year after year after year, and something is causing it. If someone tries to sell me on this idea, well, autism's always been here, really? Then where's the 5 million elderly right now in this country in old folks' homes with autism? Where are they?
Thank you.
Show them to me.
That's right.
Show them to me.
Ask the teachers, too. The teachers will tell you all you need to know about autism.
Exactly right. That's absolutely right. Any teacher that is nearing the end of their tenured career at 40 years in the business will tell you what they watched, and it's horrifying.
Yep. Yeah, it's insane. I agree. It's completely crazy. I've talked to so many people like that who have been, my friend Shelley Zorpus, she's worked with special needs children most of her adult career, and she told me, Lynette, it used to be one child ever in the classroom when I was younger and doing this. She said now it's literally a couple of children per building who are showing up. She's like, this is insane. She's like, they weren't here before. And, I mean, so many other people I've talked to, it's like that it just didn't exist. The lady at the local library, I took a bunch of books from a lot of people on our side who have written, Brett Wilcox's Jabbed, Neil Z. Miller's, Dr. Suzanne. I mean, I just took a lot of books from people on our side, and I donate them at the local library so people can check them out. And, it's just crazy to me because the lady in there, she looked so floored that, she seemed to know this stuff. And I have no idea how, but it was so interesting just to watch her like, wow, this first time somebody's ever brought any material like this in here before, and they happen to have mostly Merrick manuals in the medical part was what they had. I actually checked out several and took some pictures of informed consent according to them and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's, there's only been one side of this discussion for too long, and nothing in science, nothing in the world does well if you're only hearing one side of it.
Yeah. Well, they refuse to debate. They refuse to have a conversation. Anytime I've ever seen anybody on our side, and we're usually pretty couth about it, approach somebody and ask if they would be interested in talking or having a conversation, I've not seen any of them agree. And usually, if it's in person, people will just decide to take off. And if it's internet-wise, people will usually start throwing out hatred and memes and saying, I hope your children die. And most of the time, I hope that our side, you respond with statistics and facts. And here's where you can get this science from. And it's just, that's how you can really tell as well. If you're in there and you're just watching this and you have no idea, you need to realize why in the world, you got to see the difference in the approaches as well, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I don't ever go in attacking somebody, and I hate that more people don't understand that. This is not about treating people bad or whatever, or I'm right, you're wrong. It's always a hard message to get across, but as long as you try to do it in the proper manner, you usually get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have to. You have to remember these are human beings. They mean well. Yeah. They all have been told that their children are in danger if they don't vaccinate or around kids aren't vaccinated. It's just, do you blame every German in Germany that believed that Jewish children were dangerous or disease-filled? That's what they were being told constantly in their education system by their government. Look, if your education system, your government, your media is all telling you one thing, it's really hard to think outside of that box, and that's where we're at. This is a known psychological truth throughout time, and people get upset when I even mention Nazis, but where's the difference? What do you think? You see the descriptions was these disease-filled. We are the pure race. We are living correctly, and these disease-filled, dangerous kids are putting us all at risk. These people are putting us at risk. These are just known tactics that are being used all over again to describe children who are raised with organic food, clean water. They take a lot of vitamins, and they are now being considered the thing you should be terrified of. It's amazing to me that, and people buy into it. And so when we're talking to them, you have to be, I say start with questions. Start asking them questions about how it is they believe what they believe. And what is it exactly you believe? And where is your background and understanding that brings you to that belief? And most of the time, because my doctor said so or this and that, they don't really have any information. And there where you find they have a lack of is, well, let me show you something. Let me give you something to read. And these are published studies from our government, from other places, and start recognizing that you got to empower people that they're allowed to have an opinion on this. That's part of what's happened is they don't believe they're allowed to question their doctor. If the doctor says so, who am I to question them? Do you question your mechanic? Do you question your grocer? Do you question the guy selling you meat? Do you question everybody else? Do you question who's making your car seat or your baby bottle or your seat belts or your airbags? Why is there some group that suddenly you cannot question? And by the way, this group that has been paid out almost more than anybody, hundreds of millions and billions of dollars in lawsuits for having lied to their patients. And I'm talking about the pharmaceutical industry. Well, every time you see a lawyer in an ad saying, if you've been injured by fen-phen, call this number. If you have mesothelioma, if you have blah, 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 that's the pharmaceutical industry most of the time. They're making your vaccines. So try and remember that what you're defending is you're saying it would be crazy to think that these people that pay out billions of dollars in lawsuits have a room full of angels that make this other product called vaccines that never get tested and should never be tested because they're so beautiful and wonderful and made by such wonderful companies like Merck and Pfizer and Sanofi Aventis. It's not coming from a reasonable place is I guess what I'm trying to say. Yeah. And if you stay reasonable, I say that the most important thing is for this movement now is remain reasonable. The reason we are winning. I think people feel like they're desperate because they want to win faster. But winning is winning. And when you're winning, and you're winning because we're reasonable, we're the ones asking reasonable questions. We're saying, just test them for safety, please. Just use the scientific method,
Yeah.
please. Please return back to the science. Please show me how you've proven that vaccines don't cause autism. Oh, geez. You did, a handful of studies on one of the 16 vaccines, and that's all you have to be able to say plural vaccines altogether don't cause autism? That's not enough. Please do more. The more and more we're winning because we are reasonable, and our requests are reasonable, and our science is reasonable. And the reason they will not debate us is because they know they are living in a world outside of reason. They can't use reason because all they have is religious indoctrination. And once you're not indoctrinated into the religion any longer, they have a problem because you've lost faith. And all they have is faith. They don't have proof. And they don't have science to back up their claims. And that's why, in the end, I know we win. We win it across the board. It's going to take some time. It's slowly unraveling around them. It's crumbling down around them. And we're seeing it in all these different places. But there's no way, if we remain free. Now, maybe they bring in the military and they start locking people up, and this turns into some sort of totalitarian dictatorship, then I have no control over that. But if we are going to be living in a nation that considers itself free, then the truth will reign supreme. The real science, and yes, science is what's going to be that decides this. We win.
Oh, yeah. I 100% agree. I think we've got one more caller, it looks like, in the board. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right.
Hi,
I didn't
Del.
understand your name when I clicked over.
Thank you, Lynette. Malika, I actually follow you. I follow Del everywhere. So I just wanted to bring up a couple of points about HPV. I was pregnant in 2006 with my first child, and I was at the doctor's office, and there was an article when HPV was actually just being introduced to girls, and it was like an optional thing that you could get from 18 to 26, and I was already 28, and I was like, that's very strange. And there was an article in her office about a study that was done, and I thought it was very interesting because she is a religious Jew doctor. So she had these articles from like a Jewish paper, and they were talking about women that were being studied on for HPV in Jerusalem, and they didn't find any cervical cancers. And I thought that was very, very strange that they're not talking about that. That's one thing.
So they had HPV but did not have cervical cancer? Is that what the study showed? What did the study show?
The study showed that the women that they looked at, they did not find any cervical cancers. The women who were religiously practicing Judaism. That was the study. And
did they have HPV though, or they didn't have HPV either?
They didn't find anything. Yeah, and they were saying that it's because of the way they practice cleanliness. You know how because Jewish women are not allowed to have sexual contact during periods, and just hygiene in general is what they were talking about. I do believe, yes, it is very interesting. I also do believe that it's a big scare as far as this whole thing with HPV, because we're all carry some kind of herpes virus in our system, and sometimes it's dormant and nobody really has any kind of symptoms, but only if something happens, something activates it, right? The same thing, and there's so many strands, because that's what HPV is, the human papillomavirus. It's a herpes virus, and so it's kind of dormant and it's just there. And you could go to the doctor and they could do a swab and say, you know what, it came back positive 1 week, and then if you come back a few months later, it come back negative because and they actually scared one of my sister-in-law when she just started going to the gynecologist, and they did the swab, and she came back panicking, and she said, "Wow, it's I think I'm positive for herpes," and they scared her, and I told her go back and redo the test. And
if you've ever had a
negative.
cold sore or a canker sore, you have
Correct.
herpes. You know what I mean? So.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
but this is what they do. They don't. This is how they use the lack of. You're not being informed correctly. They're just scaring you. But right, HPV is really benign. Almost everybody carries it. And you're right. Look at our bodies. The more I look into this, and and first of all, like when it comes to the immune system, there's probably not an area of science that less is known about. I mean, they admit it, freely. If you read a textbook on the immune system, the chapters often start with, though we're not sure exactly what's happening in this part of your immune system, what we think is happening is this chapter. Like they are still couching it in. This is all theoretical. So the immune system is a total mystery to us. And it's probably as big a mystery as deep space. But they speak with bravado when they talk to your average person because they know you won't get involved in a vaccine program if you recognize that the science around it is a total guessing game. But when I've looked into it, you start recognizing our bodies are just these sacks of microbes and bacteria. To make our body work, that had throughout, whether it's evolution or you want to believe in divine design, it's amazing how many millions and billions of different things are working in, together to make you healthy. And yes, the moment you get out of balance, you have cancer cells in you. You have, polio cells, unless you've been vaccinated. These are all things that all of these things are in our bodies. The question is, why did they suddenly appear as a disease like polio did? I mean, even during polio, they looked down in South America and they found people that had never, ever, no paralysis anywhere, but they all had titers. They had antibodies to polio, meaning they'd come in contact with it and they had done just fine. Why did we suddenly start getting paralyzed? I mean, this is what Suzanne Humphreys, I think, really gets into in such a deep, impactful way in Dissolving Illusions, is sort of the other reasons why things happen. But mostly, you don't want your body out of balance. You want to stay healthy. You want to keep your body healthy. You want to keep your body nourished because, yes, there are things in our bodies that, if we get out of balance, end up, really could be troublesome for us and causing real problems. And when you think about what vaccines are doing, they're throwing our body out of balance on purpose, and I think the thing we're going to see more and more of, we know aluminum is a huge problem in vaccines, but in the end, it's going to come down to just simple immune activation, that activating the immune system is something that we want to do as little as possible. You don't want your immune system engaging. You don't want it starting a battle. And when we're inducing it now 72 times in the body, we know that's where in rat studies, monkey studies, all the human studies now, we are seeing that is inciting, cytokines in our brains that are leading to all sorts of issues. Could be affecting us as late as, Alzheimer's and things like that as we get older. So that's where I think the most fascinating study is going on, is in immune activation in general. It's an inflammatory experience. We know we don't want to be inflaming our bodies. Why would we be doing it to ourselves on purpose? And
absolutely.
I think what people don't realize is the scientists at ACIP and at the CDC, they're addicted to an idea of eradicating all of those bad microbes in your body and bacteria and only keeping the good ones, as though you could do that, as though you could kill, it's like people who think they can kill one insect but leave the others. I mean, you're messing with nature. And what's scary about it, you're messing with nature. And in the end, when you go to ACIP, they know. This is what I realized the last time, Lynette, was, and because some of the questions were really good, I said, wow, they actually like the fact that we are all in a mandatory process because we're a test group. You realize when you see all the time, we have no information on that, we haven't tested that, we don't know, we are the test group. And there's 12 people there that sit there giggling and are really excited to see what happens to the test group to see if they were wrong or right. But that's all we are. We are a giant human experiment. And I'm sorry, I'm withdrawing myself from the experiment and my children.
It's a
we will
scam.
Not be a part
Vaccines
of it.
are a scam. Yeah. It's the biggest scam.
Yeah, that made me want to come out of my chair when they all giggled in unison. I felt like everything in me telling me, Lynette, just be still, be still. You already got security on you. Be still, girl. Oh my goodness! All right, we got one more caller. Let me see. We have my buddy Sandy on. Are you there, Sandy?
I am.
All right, awesome. You got a question for Dale, my friend?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I do. Hi, Dale. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Hey, I wanted to backtrack a little bit when you were talking about empowering people, to talk about the things that we talk about, and touch on how it is that we should feel empowered to our senators and people, our local politicians, and talk about the AB bills that are on the table. When we were at the Capitol last year, and we were talking to the senators at the Capitol. I really
see you tomorrow. Thank you, Tim.
Security being able to go forward and talk to politicians.
Come on, I got somebody on the phone.
Letting people know, don't be afraid to talk to these people. They work for you. They put on, their shoes and socks just like everybody else, and let them hear from you, because I think that, right, especially in California, going into this voting season, we really need to have people out there with their voices and getting these meetings together with everybody, and especially with AB 2756 on the table. If you would mind, touching on that and letting people know it's okay to go talk to these people, get out there and tell them what they need to hear.
It's more than okay. I wasn't involved in the political process really before. I would go and vote, whenever there was a vote, but that was it. And I can say now that, when you go to these capitals and the state capitals are really great. I was just in D.C. all of last week. I'm not going to say the same thing about D.C. D.C. is ensconced. That place has got cement around their ankles. Almost nobody's moving. But at the state capitals, we really are moving the needle there. It is exciting. You get to go in, and you can see people's minds change right before you. I've watched people change their vote right before my eyes, and it matters. But one thing that, when we go in, you have to know that when you show up in that office, depending on the size of the district you're in or whatever it is, but you can think when I'm sitting in that office, they are seeing at least 1,000 people, because they know that most people hate venturing out. They know it feels weird. They know you don't feel comfortable being there. They know all of that. And the fact that you're sitting there, they know that there's 999 other people that really want to do that but don't have the courage to do it. And they listen to you knowing that you're representing at least 1,000 constituents. Sometimes it could be tens of thousands. They know that. And so every time you get up that courage, you are making a huge difference in their minds, because it's not like they have a line down the block of people visiting them talking about, the other side. Oh, I really want my kid vaccinated. Those people aren't in there. They're not in there saying, I really want you to push mandatory vaccine laws. They don't have people in their office saying, I really want you searching my home. I think you should be searching every home in California, or you should be searching the homes of the homeschoolers. Nobody's coming in their office to talk about that. But if you go in, if 2 people, 5 people, 10 people over the course of a week or something come in and say, I really don't want you searching my home, or I really don't believe it's your place to force inject my children or me, I believe that's my choice as a parent, and if you're going to continue to vote like that, I'm going to consider you an anti-parent, that you're anti-parent when it comes to how you vote. They hear it, and it changes them. You make changes. Calling in doesn't do it. I think form letters are a joke. And politicians have said that. They're like, oh, you can send me form letters. Those go in the garbage. But if I get a handwritten note from somebody, a true story about themselves, I read that, and that matters to me. And if you show up in person, it's on
even
steroids.
Better.
It's huge what that does for them. So get up the courage. It's fun. Go in and just have fun. You don't have to be brilliant. Just go in and say what you know, Say what you're concerned about. They aren't geniuses. They're not going to grill you on everything they know about vaccines. Trust me. You won't be able to find a doctor that can grill you, but you certainly won't find a politician that's going to do it. They're going to take what you have to say. They're going to listen to why you care, and they're going to think about it the next time they vote. And if there's more than one of you, they're going to think about it even harder. So it's so important that we get back into this process. They try to convince us it doesn't mean anything. So that's how we've lost control of our government. Get back in control of your government. Show up. It is so important, and it's so easy, and it actually is quite a lot of fun once you get into it.
Thank you for
That's
that.
Right.
And
well, guys, we've got to go. I love you guys. You are listening to Forsaken Generation Radio Show. You guys can find Del Bigtree, HighWire on Facebook and YouTube. And everybody have an amazing week. Thank you, Del.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.